Boom. Welcome back. Yeah, second round live stream. Monday. That was fun and it went in a way surprisingly well. Of course, this format is quite. I'm quite not used to this format now, but I got extremely lucky with the guests, and so I think it went quite fine. Dylan, hello, nice to see you. Marius, hello, nice to see. I've watched a video from you 2 weeks ago, Marius, where you went into those new YouTube guidelines and you really read them. I was quite surprised, and you put out really some interesting stuff of how to handle those and the changes they do with the algorithm. That was really quite interesting, and I figured out for me that it really makes sense to read them if you can find them and if you get them. I hadn't that on my plate. That was really a cool video you did. Very informative. Thank you. Nick Fantasy. No, Nick Fantasy. Greek, the Greek version, right? Lex, welcome. Ragged, hi. Michael, Joachim, Andy, welcome. Yeah, as I said, this new format on Monday and Fridays is meant to be more or less spontaneous. I don't know who is coming up. I hope a lot, as the more the merrier, of course. And so, of course, I also depend on people to share the screen, to give input in the gallery. But as I said, for the very first time, I think last Monday went quite good. I was really... Oh, Thomas, you're back. I just wanted to start talking about you because that really was amazing that you gave us let's say an overview of your warehouse, your working space. That was really quite something, and I hope that we can get more and more into it. That was really quite fascinating and an amazing addition to the show. And of course, always a pleasure to have Nadine with us and Stanti with his knowledge. And Nadine yesterday also did a very interesting stream. I don't know who of you have seen it. If not, maybe go over to her channel and watch it, because she did a stream about the degritter, the cleaning records. Got really deep into this topic with her guest, a guy who, he said that he always has gotten mad because he went so deep into it, and he shares his experiences in a very descriptive and interesting way. Frank, hello, nice to see you. Jens, hey. Yes, there's more to it though. Basically, YouTube is trying to go into regular TV direction, okay? Making content more safe, more interesting, and pay less to creators. Pay less to creators or pay to less creators? Maybe they get more picky of whom they pay. I don't know. Lovell, hey, nice to see you. Boring vinyl stories. Hey, hello. Spinners are grinners. Hi from Australia. Oh, what time do you have now in Australia? Hey, Dom, so nice to see you. Cool that you are here. Sean Howard, did you see the DG Roundtable up yesterday? DG, Deutsche Grammophon? Talking about this? Got them today. I will get a little later into it. And now, but I haven't seen that yet. I hope they had Sydney there, because she's heavily involved in this, and she was a guest to my channel 4 months ago. Amazing, talented young master engineer, female master engineer, which is in this context worth mentioning. And she also did an apprenticeship. I hope this is the correct term, over at Kevin Gray. Ah, okay, see, that's what you mean. Okay, that was probably very entertaining. Styles, hello to Indiana. Just after midnight, okay. You have the female worship, football worship, and Germany again. Didn't that good? Again. Okay. I open now for people who wants to join the panel. Just click the link. Just click the link, and then if you want to join us. Hello, Steve. Yaya's goal. Okay. Okay. Use the link if you want to join. Yeah. Otherwise, I got those. As there already has been mentioned, those Deutsche Gramophones. It's the second batch of this series, and yeah, original source. And you know, the first batch of it, the first batch of this series was for me so convincing that I really didn't get into the original pressings of these releases, because the remasters in this special case have been so much better that doesn't make many sense to me now, and I will concentrate on the reissues. Carl and Freddie give their hello too to you. I don't know if you can hear them. And yeah, I will of course do a video when I've listened to them, when I've gotten through them, and then I share my experience and my opinion about them. But what I can say already is that they once more, like with the first batch, with the very first batch, they did again an amazingly beautiful packaging. They put really care and love into those gatefold jackets. This really is amazing. That's really quite something. And of course, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful that we also now have an audiophile classical series out there, because classical music, classical vinyl is a bit in the shadows somehow, at least here on YouTube, and I think it deserves the best treatment possible, because those are amazing performances. This is quite often amazing music, and I also do hope that Deutsche Grammophon also gets into the avant-garde area they did for quite some decades now, every now and then, and has put out amazing stuff in that. Why are you so excited, boys? Let's see what happens. They have seen something in the neighbor garden. Yeah, okay, I can imagine. I haven't listened to them yet. I haven't put them on yet. But yeah, we will see. I will see. On the used record, on the original side of things, I've gotten 3 records. Nadine, you're in Hamburg, right? Thank you. Yeah, you have an awesome weekend too in Hamburg. Have fun, enjoy. Will be amazing, I hope. And I hope the weather is not too bad, but it's getting better here now. Yeah, when it comes to the originals, I got, for my private collection, for my personal collection, I got 3 copies this week. Maybe we'll get briefly into them. I got another very early Human League, In Darkness. You know, this is a record that also has Being Boiled on it. And yeah, not that easy to get in a good, especially not in a good condition. I gave it a listen. Unbelievable, cool, dark synth pop. Amazing record. The sound of this record is very bad, but hey, come on, that is, yeah, that you can't expect an audiophile firework when you get especially into this record, but musically it's a brilliant, dark, cool record, and I really do love the very early Human League, when they haven't gotten into this Dare, Don't You Want Me Baby, although I do like those two in a way, but this is right now way more up to my alley than the or not way, but later stuff. Then I got a record, again relatively difficult to obtain, from one of my favorite bands of my youth, again early 80s, talking about Cabaret Voltaire, and this is chapter 1, again a record not so easy to get, especially not easy to get in a decent condition. Does that have the 7-inch version of Being Boiled? That one is better than the version on Travelogue. Yeah, I'd say that this is not the the polished one. I think that's what you mean by the 7-inch. Yeah, that's on this version. That's on this version. Fidelius, yes, I love Reproduction and Travelogue, great albums. Yeah. Okay. Nadine gives thanks to Nick. Your records are soon getting. Yeah, okay, can't wait to play the solo. I can imagine. Yeah, but back to the Cabaret Voltaire chapter 1. Amazing stuff. I was surprised because when I bought it, I've heard that this is a bootleg, but when I put it into my collection, Discogs doesn't say that is one. So this, you can trade it, you can buy it over the Discogs database, and maybe give it, if you don't know it, give it a try. This really is amazing stuff, really cool stuff. Wait, I made another link if somebody wants to join. Yeah, and the third one I keep up for a little later, and maybe okay, see, Frank JBL, yes, the original single was less polished, and then this version is on this record, on the Human League in Darkness. Beautiful cover art, don't you agree? Beautiful, really cool. Hi Michael, your thoughts about the new ERC release? Cheers, Stefan. You mean the Soul album, right? Yeah. Again, a new direction they are opening up to, makes them, in my opinion, even more interesting. You know, I really hope that they go more and more into other directions. And I think it again was sold out. It was sold out so fast. Dom, hello. Nice to see you. What a pleasure.
How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I hope you're doing well too. So it's early morning, or what time is it at your place right now?
Yeah, 10:15. I'm working at home today, so I was like, it's a quiet day anyway, so it's perfect to join you here.
Oh, that's nice. Well, yeah. Warm welcome. Yeah, but you have been here, right? We have done a video stream, a live stream together.
Yeah, a while ago. Right? I think it was after Den Bosch. Yeah.
Exactly. The first round in Den Bosch, not the second one.
Right. Yep. Whatever that would have been.
When do you plan on going to Den Bosch? Do you?
Yeah, Germany. I'd love to fly out there for a record fair, but
the record fair is in the Netherlands, but it's close.
Oh, right. So yeah, Den Bosch, Netherlands. But maybe next year. This year, I'm planning. I'm actually working out details for the WFMU fair in October.
In New York, right?
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a heavy amount of VC there. So.
Yeah, probably right. Of course. And you go there? What are you planning for it?
Well, I'm putting aside some money to, see what we can find. I'm a little concerned that this is the first time they've had it since before the pandemic, and it's always been one
Hmm.
of the best record fairs I've ever been to. And I'm a little concerned that the prices are going to reflect that. It's going to be all high end and very little, even mid range. We'll see, but I'm ready for a couple of things if I see it. I'll say that.
So you have a list, a wish list?
I got a little bit of a list, but like you or like most people, it's always depends on what you see and
Yeah,
condition and
yeah.
what's kind of getting you in that moment.
And do you take also records with you? You are willing to trade in, and how do you prepare for that?
I'm just looking at a few things right now to bring. I think it's a good idea, especially if that special something's there. Probably bring
Mm,
about 10 pieces if possible, but it's going to be stuff I don't probably want to sell, but if the right thing's there, I
mm,
will. So, certain things accumulate in value from just a couple of years ago that maybe they did
yeah.
one pressing of, and I might say, well, they may repress this, and if this first press on some colored wax that I happen to have is worth a few $100, well, let's bring it along. See if we can get some trade for it.
I get that. And, and before you go there, how deep do you go into which you go and look at their discogs before you go there so that you can get an idea, or do you just go there and be surprised and in the situation, or do you prepare very meticulously?
We'll see. We'll see when they list the official list of dealers who's going to be there. I think once that happens, then I'll have an idea of who I want to sort of browse and see what they might have. The question is,
Mm,
it's technically a Saturday and Sunday fair. What's going to happen Friday? That
yeah.
there's going to be some kind of early admission or early dealings and things like that. So I'm kind of curious to get down there. Then I'm only 4 hours from the city, so I should be able to get down there Friday. Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while, so
Marius is
yeah,
asking, when is that taking date?
it's
Do you have it in
October
your head?
14th,
You know that?
October 14th, 15th. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, like Frank said, mid-October. Yeah.
Yeah, Frank's supposed
Um,
to come, so
yeah, I've heard a lot of people are supposed to come. I think Jay Rojas is supposed to come, right? And I
Mazzy's
think
coming. He
Messi
bought a
is
ticket.
going over there. Yeah. And I don't know, is Jose coming? He's probably coming too, right? I can imagine
I'm not
that
sure
he
about
will go
Jose.
there too.
I know Alex Motoric 247 just said he's going to make the trip. Dave VC
Okay, cool.
Ambassador, another friend Brendan who does Faust in the Head, the great channel. He's going to come down from
Mhm.
Buffalo, and that's just a few people. There's others that are sort of friends of friends or VC people that haven't made videos in a while. I think so. I got to find a place for
So
us to
it will
meet.
be very well covered over the VC, I can imagine, with videos and impressions and live stream. Are
I
you
think
doing
so.
something like that on your channel?
I'll probably do
Are
something. We'll see. I haven't figured that out yet. You're going to make the trip. That's the question.
me?
Yeah.
I can't. I cannot. I don't fly.
Oh, really?
I have such a terrible anxiety when it comes to flying. It's just not possible for me. Although
Okay.
I, of course, would love to, but I concentrate on Den Bosch, which isn't a bad thing either, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to make the trip there sometime. We'll see. Maybe in 2024.
Maybe. Why not in
Yeah.
November, though?
A month after, if not less than FMU, that would be interesting.
Yeah, right, right. That will be,
If I
of
find
course.
nothing, maybe I'll have enough for airfare and I'll just,
I don't think that you won't find something.
yeah.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. But this fair is like like Den Bosch. You find everything out of every genre, right? Whatever you look
Yeah.
for, you have a good chance of finding it, right?
I think so. It's going to be at a new place that they've never had it before. It's sort of right where Queens and Brooklyn meet, and it's going to be a little, from what I know of the area, slightly less going on. So it's going to feel more like you're there and there's not much else to do. But I could be wrong. The area has changed a lot, but there's so many great shops, other shops that are around. That's the other thing. So
and those shops, they have a booth on the fair too, or you just think they will stay open and the people will go also into those shops, right? So
that's what I think.
Don't need to.
Yeah, why spend all that money for a table when your shop is 20 minutes away? They can front load it with all kinds of hot stuff that they could save for that weekend. And there's a few shops I'd really have been wanting to hit that we'll probably have to carve out time to do that. So yeah, the event.
We should connect to organize something for the WFMU fair in New York City.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm hoping to meet up with everybody as much as possible, as long as there's time. And yeah, we should organize something. I'm upstate in Ithaca, so I'm from the New York area originally. So
this will take place in New York, Richard, in mid-October.
It's called, the name of the venue is the Knockdown Center. They've only, it's a venue / space, large space, event space that they have bands at too. There's going to be all kinds of bands. I'm sure they're going to announce. They haven't disclosed what the ticket situation is yet, so they've only just announced that it's happening. I expect that within the next few weeks we'll have more details about dealers, price of admission, bands playing, that kind of thing.
So Richard James will also be there.
Aphex?
Not 100%.
No, I don't see the D.
FX Twin. Of course, he would be very welcome, but that will be a surprise. Frank is going there too. I'll be there this year. The last time I went was 2008.
Frank, that's the last time I was there. So interesting. That was the one time I set up as a dealer there. I went as a few times as a buyer and 1 year as a dealer, and that was that year I was a dealer. So that's interesting. I've seen some of I'm expecting there to be great performances. I've seen so many great shows there at the actual fair. So I'm curious to see what they have there. Yep.
That is something you don't have in Den Bosch, by the way. There are no bands or music or stuff like that. It's just records. But then again, I don't know how large this York thing though is. So, but I can tell you that in Den Bosch you won't have time in a way to go and watch a concert. Not during the opening time of the record fair, because it's already not time enough. So
part of me wouldn't really mind if it was just records anyway, but
yeah, of course, it's the main purpose. And another record collector joins us again. Luckily. Hey Thomas, so nice to see you again.
Good afternoon.
You know each other, or? Oh, you have seen it. Okay, so then
I saw last week's after the fact. So yeah, it was eye-popping for some of that.
Yeah.
Nice view, Thomas. Those collection behind you.
Yeah.
Where are you today? Still in the warehouse? Different from the warehouse, or are you at your home?
No, I'm at the warehouse.
Again.
I have a room here that's like my room.
Okay, cool.
Then I go in and close the door.
See, because I missed out the Sunday last time, so there were bands and singers on Sunday in Den Bosch. Okay. Hey, Stanti. Nice to see you. Have you ever been to this New York fair, Thomas?
No, but I'm already interested. I was there before the Corona, but I think it was Discogs that made a record fair there.
Okay.
But that was
I haven't heard about that.
No, I think it was like a one-day thing. Like venue thing.
Okay.
And you had
But also New York?
Also New York, yeah. It was, I think it was in a library or something. But it was amazing. There was a live concerts in the evening. Roy Ayers played there, and a lot of the good old hip hop bands playing.
Okay, interesting. And this WFMU, is it the largest one in the area, or maybe in the United States, or are there other record fairs that you can compare when it comes to the size of it, Dom?
I think Austin's bigger, but I've never been to the Austin Record Fair, but it's definitely one of the biggest as far as I know. Yeah. We'll see. This is a new venue, and I don't know how many, we'll have to see what kind of interest they're getting from dealers. I imagine they'll have plenty of dealers there. So
I don't know which video I saw. Go, Dom.
My experience with the American record fair is that there's like 95% American stuff. You don't see a lot of the European stuff. That's amazing for people like me to come there, because you see stuff from America and never. But in Denmark, it will be a mix of everything.
Right.
That's so tempting when it comes to Den Bosch. I think you get records from all over the world, right? That mixture in Den Bosch is amazing, and that's an interesting fact that you have mostly American stuff over the US pressing. Can you second that, Dom? Or have you made different experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I'll be looking for specific wise is a lot of reggae and international music. I mean, there'll be a ton of New York dealers that will have that stuff out there. Boom. There it is.
I found it.
So you found it, okay. My copy is back in the shelf. Did you listen to it, Thomas?
Yeah, I love it.
You liked it?
Yeah.
It's cool, right? Yeah.
But I like the silk screen.
Yeah, the silk screen is wonderful. Yeah, and so interesting when you see the original. The jacket is almost boring compared to this silk screen in a way, right? Although of course the very first Jamaican pressing is.
Yeah, but the first that looks a little bit like a cheap reissue. The first press.
Compared
that's
to
a Jamaican press, right? That's a silk screen cover Jamaican press.
Yeah, and I think there's 4 or 5 of them.
Exactly.
It's like the third issue of it. I think this one came in 70.
I think 74.
74, yeah.
74.
And then there was a copy. There's also a copy where it's yellow and one where it's only black and white.
Exactly. Hey, Stanti, how are you doing?
Oh, you weren't.
Oh my God!
My shelf just collapsed on me.
Have your shelves finally collapsed?
These ones, yeah. So I have to, I have piles of records everywhere.
I think we were joking about that happening a while ago, weren't we, Michael?
Here, and I was like, literally, and no, it was too heavy. I couldn't. Yeah. Well.
So you prevented the collapse, okay? Oh, that's better.
No. I prevented nothing. I was just crushed by the whole thing. Now I managed to put it in a position that is kind of stable, so I can assess the damage. But I think it's all right. There's 2 records I got a little bit, and some jackets. But jackets, they're supposed to shield the record, so that hopefully they did just that.
They did it. They did shield it.
Oh my
God, we talked so much about this, and now it has happened.
Yeah, but you talk about that in the studio, not in not where it happened. In the studio, it won't happen. Here, I never said anything because I knew it could happen, because it has happened one time before, and I thought I had found a solution. But the solution is to buy heavier wood now.
But you are a self-made.
Yeah, I make my stuff. But Oh yeah, Michael is gone, so
Frozen.
he won't be able to chastise me when I call out your new boyish look, Dom. What's up with
Sorry,
that?
I froze.
I know you hate it. The mustache and the beard will be back this fall.
Yeah, just the mustache. Forget the beard.
I like to start with a beard and then
Yeah.
come down.
It
So what are you
looks
gonna
a
do,
bit
Stunt? You're
like
gonna
if
play
you
those-
are into the VC, you have to have a beard. Think about it.
But you know, just the day this morning, I was like, finally, I think my shoulder is okay. Like I have had this pain for
Oh.
like 2 weeks, and now I was like, and now it's still okay here, but now I have a pain here.
So is that going to be your
It would
pile
have
for the
made
stream
the
today, or
perfect
what?
life.
No, my pile. I think. Oh yeah, you might. No, I think I know. Yeah, I have enough records from last week that I didn't get to show or play, but I got some new ones that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but this was, in a way, it was overdue. But okay, let's change topic. Okay, I brought another record with me, and then I'm through with my stuff. Luckily, maybe some of you know this, and this one I've never thought about buying a record that much, and thought, but now I got it. I bought it, the 2066 in, and I show the vinyl because getting this record in this condition is really.
Oh, it's on United Assholes as well.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And yeah, I gave it a listen, and it's such a fantastic record, and maybe we can discuss this a little bit. How is this possible that such amazing records were so unsuccessful in that time, and then they got hyped and hyped and hyped over decades, and now if you want to buy a decent copy, you have to go so unbearable deep into your pockets, but price really correlates with the quality of the music, it seems. Another good example is this Jade Warrior self-titled, relatively expensive record, but an amazing rock record. And how does it come that amazing records, when they come out, they don't get the recognition they deserve? Are they too far out in the time, or
No,
what is?
you say it colorates. It only colorates when it does, because we
good
could find
point,
you 1,000 example in the spot where it doesn't.
True. What's your take, Dom?
I just think that, limited distribution at the time, and a lot of bands just didn't matter what they made. They just were never going to get, they didn't connect the dots with, distribution, label, management, being in the right place at the right time. Nowadays it takes nothing to get your record or your music out into the world. But, then you had to get lucky in a way, right? Know the right people and be good too. I mean,
yeah, but United Artists is not
right. Yeah,
it's not nothing. Or the Jade Warrior, for example, is on the Vertigo Swirl, which is again not nothing, but maybe they are just ahead of that time, and this doesn't help success.
Well, maybe you also don't want to hear what I think about that record.
I want to hear if you want to share.
No, it's just that once treasure is someone else's graveyard, it's I just don't think it's necessarily the way to look at it. Okay, there are records that are super desirable for collectors, because this record it's only collectors who want to get it right now, I think. What do you think, Dom?
absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think
it's well known within that genre, krautrock rock. So
what's your take on it, Tom?
That, like, it's not about that you have to pay a lot of money. It's also that it's like most of these avant-garde records for 5-10 years ago, where the prices were high but the demand was still low. It's because there's a culture for certain types of records that have a sort of cachet, maybe, that is completely created by the people who are interested in it, and sometimes a longer, a more ancient culture. And when I say ancient, a couple of decades, 2 or 3 decades only, most of the time. But like, I got a record the other day that I'm going to play tonight that I paid more than twice more the highest price it ever went on Discogs. And I think I made a good deal. But most people wouldn't think that, because they have never heard of that record before. So it's all about the investment you've already had in that record. You said it yourself, you've never wanted a record that much. So you're already tricking yourself in a way.
No. Okay, maybe I said it, but I didn't say I wanted never a record that much. I said I never thought about buying a record that much due to the price.
Yeah.
Not because this is the record I wanted the most.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's still adjacent, in my opinion.
Thomas, you have an opinion about the topic, about the record, about the quality of the music?
I think the vinyl world is so big, so thing that's obvious for me, you might never heard about. And I was like, and the record you show that's like natural for all of you, I might never have heard about, because I don't come in that area of music or people at the moment.
Okay.
And I suddenly find something that I think it's amazing and everybody knows about, and sometimes the opposite.
Yeah.
And do you think, Michael, that if I, who might have never heard that record, but have heard of it, never heard it, you play it to me, do you think it will change my mind on rock and roll?
It's krautrock, Stanti.
Yeah, no, but do you think
it's on the more rockier side of the krautrock genre, but it has.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a. In the large sense, it's a rock record. It's a.
In the large sense, it's a rock record. Does it change the way you will see rock music? Hey, come on, that's a big bit. Of course not.
Yeah.
No chance. No record will do that.
Is it breaking new ground for you in the krautrock realm,
that's what
Michael, or is it more along the because I've only streamed that one a while ago, so I couldn't even tell you what that sounds like. I don't remember.
It opens a new chamber in the krautrock section. That for sure it does, because it's, in a way, at least when it comes to my collection, I don't know every krautrock record. Of course, they are legion, but it opens up new regions, and it's an standalone, outstanding record, in my opinion. I was surprised. I was positively surprised. I really got into it. I gave it one listen. I don't go and play this now 10 times a day. I'm not that kind of listener. Yeah. I go to it every now and then now.
This one I found really opened up new sort of ideas of what I thought krautrock could be, but it's still sort of in that same mode. And this is the reissue. This is a very tough one to find, but this is one I'll be looking for. This came earlier this year.
Yeah, it came finally it came out as a reissue, because the original is really, really difficult to get.
Yeah.
And if you get one due to the bad lamination,
is it in a box, or is it no?
It is in a box.
It is in a box.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a version in a box, I think, and because some of it came with some stuff, right, Michael? Like maybe a tower game or something, some items, and then there's a gatefold version of it. Oh, the one you have,
Yeah, but the
box is
really difficult to get in a good condition, because the lamination is often totally destroying the jacket or the box.
Yeah,
I do like rock music. It's when I was saying that, it was more that I'm sure it's a good, professional, well-made rock record. It's just that it's not. I remember when I was more between a teen and a young adult, and I was really into IDM, Michael, in like Aphex Twin type of music. So the go-to place was Boomcat back then. There were the shop in the world that were really, if you needed online. I also had a good shop in Paris, the Rough Trade shop. And at the time, it was possible to get everything that was coming out that you thought was good, which doesn't mean something you like, because the hype was so big about these limited items back then in the late 90s that it was literally when the sort of like get it now or cry later thing started. That was with IDM on Boomcat. Never anyone marketed it that way before to that extent. And I remember getting records that I thought were interesting, good, but that I didn't necessarily connect with or even like. And I just don't want to fall into that ever again, whatever genre, however new it is to me, and getting something just because it's officially good or great. I just need to have a personal connection with it. Otherwise, I pass. However great it is, and that's what I meant.
And I think that's why you have the community, somebody to present music for you that you don't know about. That's why I'm not into that record, but if I listen to it together with Michael, I might be buying it this week. But and the same with this one.
Oh.
For me, this is in the same area, but maybe you don't know that one like the other one. But for me, it's just as obvious with this one.
Ooh.
Wow. Can you tell us something about the record, Thomas, please?
It's on this label.
Transatlantic, yeah, beautiful label. For sure.
It's a UK label, and it's folk psychedelic rock from 1971.
Beautiful. And look, Thomas.
It's not legit though. This one is also wonderful too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's amazing as well.
Yeah.
What do you mean by it's not legit?
Well, literally, it's not the original. Plus, it's on the Alternative Fox label, which is without question not legit. But I don't think there's legit.
Okay, you have that too. Okay, now you show the original again. Okay.
You have this one as well?
No. Nope.
Can you tell us what we are seeing over there? What music again? What band?
It's still UK music, and it's on Dawn that has a lot of like really interesting. Can you see it?
Yeah, now we can see it. Yes.
There's a lot of good psychedelic rock on that label. Like
Comus, the big one.
This is some of the biggest one.
That one. 1200, yeah.
This one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't heard that one. Not one I'm not familiar with.
So psychedelic rock.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you know those records, Stanti?
I knew the first one, and then I missed the second one. I was watching Mazzy revealing his turntable. I mean, you had to.
Let him. Yeah, turntable. I can reveal you something. I hope that I get my new turntable this week. But 4 steel screws are missing. They should arrive this week, so it will be next week. Hey, come on. Sometimes those things takes their time. Yeah, psych rock, Stanti. You said you like some psych rock, right?
I like psychedelic music.
Whatever that means, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually my favorite kind of music. It's I think that 95% of all the music I listen to is psychedelic to a large extent. I don't think, like for example, a band like Coil or Nurse's Wound, I don't see how they could not be considered as psychedelic music.
That's been a goal of mine, like of recent years, is trying to find psychedelic music that's not traditionally psych rock. You know, what like this? I finally was able to get this. This got repressed. The Valentina Magaletti.
Oh yeah, with the drumming on ceramics, right?
Correct. It's all percussion. She's doing everything on this. Field recordings, vibraphone, toys, oscillators, and this is psychedelic without question. Just from a ambience perspective, from a what she's doing with some of those percussion instruments. I mean, this is totally immersive, and what a great cover.
For sure.
And see, that's a good example. Like that's a record that a lot of my friends here in the VC and quite a few friends in real life, they're really obsessed about that record. I don't care for it personally. I think it's a good record, but I don't connect with it.
It connected for me in a major way. Yeah, I'm not totally sure what it was. I like these records with this one person sort of creating a sound environment. You know, I'm always looking for those. So, and she's got a lot. She's involved in a whole lot of things. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of homework to do there.
Tomaga is was her main thing until her partner passed away.
Right.
But I think she's becoming a powerhouse of avant-garde improvised music, drumming.
Yeah. She's been around a while now, so.
Yeah. Nico Malcolm did a contribution to the 2066, and then is rare because very few German buyers cared about German bands back then. They were also ignored internationally. With time, the rumor has spread, especially with the internet and also the demand. Yeah, that's of course also a possibility for delivering a not so successful record when it in a way deserves to be a big success, right? Good point.
Remember that the back then that Nico is talking about is the age, the dawn of mass media communication that is at the same time as the cultural colonization of the world by the Anglo-Saxon world, because they were at the tail end of their actual colonial empire. So they needed to do another sort of colonialism, which was cultural. John Peel had a mission by the Queen. Like, he literally was told by the Queen, hype, not in these words, but hype British bands.
Which was an easy thing to do at the time, right?
It was easy in the sense also that, like, me and Thomas, we talked about that recently, how, like, if you look at popular music in the 40s, 50s, you didn't have yet the structures of the song when you would play 4 times in a row the chorus. That was new. That came with the late 50s, the Beatles and all that. That at the 4th time you sing along. It's pop music, popular, but also populist. That it really is a brain worm, because when you hear it that many times, of course it has a psychological and cultural effect on you. And that kind of music, like if you think about singer-songwriters, they were very strong in France, in the US, in England, in Sweden, in their own language. And then it became a minority because we had this kind of music that was pop music that was very effective at occupying territory in your head, because it was easy to assimilate, much easier to assimilate a chorus you can, they tell you 4 times in a row, 3 or 4 times during the whole song, than a singer-songwriter who's talking about not going to the war and killing.
Of course. Novice Nick, it actually did.
Yeah,
stingy.
It fell on me, Nick.
Welcome to the stream, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Pretty good. I saw that Stunty's on his hate tour of everyone's favorite record, so I just wanted to pop up and let you know. Yesterday, he told me that Plantasia is cheesy, so he's banned from my life.
Well, I'm going to post a video today about this record, which I don't know if anyone knows this. because I'm not really a fan of Plantasia either. But this is a different record.
Ah,
about plants.
nice.
Have you heard this yet?
You don't like Plantasia, man. You're banned from my life.
Well, I wouldn't say I don't like it. I just didn't say it connected with me, Frank. I'm sorry.
Dom, I literally told
Feel free
Frank,
to talk about it, Frank. Feel free to show it.
but remember, Frank, Dom, I told Frank, for me, Plantasia would be on the same shelf as Switch on Bach.
Okay.
It's a novelty record,
Yeah,
and it's a fun one. But
I hear that. I don't quite get all the hype around it. I mean, it's a cool package. It's a cool idea, and it's nice. But ultimately, it hasn't registered for me.
Yeah, but of course, Stunty in his own way. If you want to see this record negative, then his hint, I put it in the same shelf as Switch on Bach, is correct.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can have this record on the positive side. It's
not negative, Michael. It's
negative. Now, come on, of course it's negative.
No, it's just my person where I am. For me, I'm not saying that people. I didn't tell Frank that you're scum because of that. So many other reasons.
Luckily, you did.
I just assumed that's what
the
you
stream
thought.
is not over yet. So
No, we still discuss for a good hour after we discuss Plantasia.
That's true, but nothing positive came out of that either.
Fair low blow.
Switch on Bach. Yeah. So what's it? Oh, another record. Wait a second.
It's also music for plants.
Oh, it's a music. Well, let me see the title. What is? I can't see the. Gristling for listening. Okay. Cool.
The thing is that on one side it's romantic music, like for that the plants like. On the other side, it's heavy drums and heavy breaks and heavy everything.
Okay.
It has been sampled by hip hop producers quite heavily.
It has, yes.
Yeah.
And there's two different with the same cover and the same everything. On only one of them have like the heavy drums and stuff like on the B side.
Okay, interesting. When did this record came out?
70s.
75.
Sounds like a very obscure record. Is it a pleasure listening? At least the first side, or what? Which side do you prefer, Thomas? The plant side or the heavy side?
I listen most to the heavy sides because
okay.
I think
it's a super funky record. Super funky.
Okay. You know it or you have it, Stunty?
I've sold it. I've had it. Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, well, no, it's if you're into funky, heavy, yeah, it's a really fun record.
Jens, the Black Paint. There's a great book about Germany's journey from jazz, pop, and Schlager to krautrock and beyond. Time and Sounds by Jan Reetze. Thanks for sharing. Interesting.
You think that the black paint might be Jan, like trying to hype his book?
Does anyone here have a turntable they want to show us?
No, not yet. I have to wait until next week, unlucky, because I already said it. 4 screws are missing. And without those 4 screws, pre-COVID delivery chain, Frank, those are still problematic things nowadays. That the delivery chains are still not working like they have done before COVID. It's quite astonishing.
Michael, seriously, the guy, the Einstein guy, the kind of turntables he creates. Don't you think that if you want to add a screw on it in 10 years, he will still find a way to do it?
He will.
It seems that it's an ongoing project, this turntable, that he could modify them all as much as like forever, right?
Right. In a way he could, and with some components he actually does. For example, the OTL, the power amps, they got modified over the last decade several times, and you know, it's a tube system. That means every now and then you need a new tube, and it's not that you can plug one tube and put one in and then turn it on again. You really have to go over there, and then they do new tubes in, and the measurements and the adjusting. This is a process of several days, and whenever I've done this, he said, oh, by the way, we changed this, we upgraded this, we upgraded this. Very interesting. So you're right. Quite often, and not only with Einstein, those components are a work in progress, for sure. Yeah.
Michael, didn't he say that this is his last turntable?
Yes. This is. Yeah, he can't do a bigger, better one. This is simply not possible. But of course, minor changes might occur, and when he gets those turntable backs for whatever reason, or he might upgrade. Although on a turntable, I have my doubt that you will do it, because this is a different machine. An amplifier is something different. It's something different. You just have more parts, more electronic to it than with a turntable. You know, his philosophy in general, when it comes especially to a turntable, is it sounds strange, but there's a lot of truth to it when it comes to turntable. Make as less mistakes as possible.
It's funny because like all of this makes me think that the audiophiles are kind of like Mad Max Thunderdome characters, like always like trying to beef up their vehicles and make it look more impressive and yeah.
No, that's not fair in a way when it comes to the Einstein equipment, because he's not trying to do this visually 20 kilo iron plates in front of the no. He's not for the visual effect.
I think some of the ugliest turntables are those like 4 foot tall with weights all over them and shit. They just look like grandfather clocks. They're terrible.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Audiophile or the record fair?
The audio. So like the turntable, I'm saying the turntables that look like you could shoot them off into outer space. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and also with this visuality they seems to need nowadays, they create a lot of technical problems, you know, especially with the speakers. They have to look like spaceships, but with this look, you create a lot of technical problems you have to deal with, which makes them more complex, more expensive, and it's a strange development. It's a really strange development.
Is it a little bit like when you're buying a new Apple product?
I don't understand.
You already have an Apple product and you get the new generation, and like, why couldn't they do it exactly the same way as the previous one without creating new? No, sorry.
So they go through like various iterations where it's perfect, then they put out another one, it's terrible, and then they gradually get up to being perfect again.
That happens. I think that for example, when you talk about Apple, that they do a good job improving their products step by step by step. Of course, you have difficulties with some products when they put them out anew, but in general, the improvements are going slower nowadays, but still, I think we have a slight improvement from generation to generation still.
Which is weird, because traditionally with audio gear, high standard or actually when you get like standardized audio gear, like a turntable by Technics, a Walkman by Sony, the first generation of the model is always the best one, because often they even sell it at a price that is not normal. It's too cheap. and then they use less or more fragile components and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And 4 or 5 years after the first model was issued, it's still the same model, but the life expectation of the product is much shorter.
Mhm.
You might have a point here, but I still see, for example, when it comes to the PlayStation, I see big differences between this PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about a PlayStation 1 built in 1995 compared to a PlayStation 1 built in 1998.
Okay.
If it's a new product, a new generation, of course there will be differences. But I remember perfectly when I got my DAT player, my mini disc player, that the first one I got lasted like 10 years, and the last one I got lasted much less, and I took much better care of it. And I've discussed that with a lot of people. And you were talking about a gaming thing. I was talking about audio. Maybe there's difference in this.
Yeah,
Maybe there's cultural.
So on Stunty's point, when I bought my JBLs, this is probably about 5 years ago, I had no experience with them at all. And I had always just overlooked them because I was so wrapped up in the high end world, like the not uber high end, but separating something like JBL from just like this. I'm trying to think of like high-end equivalent, but either way. So I got those speakers, and when I got them, the engineer that designed them, his name is Chris Hagen. He came on board because he had designed a previous iteration of these things. And when he designed these, he put probably 99% of his love and passion into these things. I've seen interviews with him where he's about to, like, almost crying, like, I did everything to make these perfect. And then, of course, 2-3 years later, you get like the version 2, right? Then you get the version 3. And my thought is, like, how much more could you put into this? Like, I'm not going to get rid of mine for the next version because so much went into the first one. These are just micro changes at that point, and maybe charge an extra $500 or whatnot. But most of the love went into the original. I was trying to think of Wilson. That was what I was trying to think of. But I agree with Stunty to some degree. You know, the earlier first iteration, then it just goes on and on and on. They're just making micro tweaks just to sell you the next version at that point.
Yeah. If you think about the Technics 1200, the 1210, which are like these are like 40 years old, and like for years it took so many years before they did a new model, and they only did a new one because it was out of print for such a long time, and they were I think they were probably surprised that model would have that long-lasting commercial potential. They were probably saying, we sold these for, I don't know how much it was retail when it was first available, but no, actually I remember they costed about like $200 when they were found as new in in Audio Gear shop. And as soon as you couldn't find them new, people were easily paying $400 or euros for these, and rather servicing these than buying a new turntable if they couldn't find the Technics 1210 or 1200. Now you have the Technics 12 MK5, the even 7. But honestly, the price of these turntables, if I can find a functional, well cared for 1200, I don't need anything else.
I have the first 1200 actually, which was a completely different model. Didn't have the button push. It had like the knob switcher. Definitely they improved the next generation because it also has a slow speed. It takes a while for it to get up to 33,
you're
45.
Correct. It's the 1200 MK2.
That's the real first one.
That's the real first one, exactly.
Right. I got that.
Now it's marketed. Now they have a version marketed to the audiophile crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know how different it is from the original.
Well, the price is an audiophile price.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are they? $4,000 or $5,000?
Over $5,000.
Two, I thought. Is it really?
The MK7 is $5,000. Yeah.
Good question. I appreciate great music reproduction, reaching my means. Does that make me an audiophile? I would say yes.
I would say yes too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, audiophile is such an artificial term in a way.
It's almost derogatory to some people.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it could either mean, like Marius is saying, you have a passion for music and hearing it the best you possibly can within your means,
that's
or it could just expensive equipment they can.
I have the new.
I'm not saying either one is is the right way, but there is a derogatory connotation to it sometimes. I don't care. I'll call myself an audiophile. I don't have an uber expensive system, but I mean, how else do you explain it to somebody? Like the average person.
My explanation is, but Thomas wanted to say something.
Exactly.
No, I'm just saying I have the new Technics, the expensive one, but I always use my 1200 MK2 when I'm DJing. Because it even got too strong. It's not good for it to return the records and stuff like that. But it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. After a while, like the great thing about the Technics 1200 or 1210 MK2 is you press play and there's no latency. You press stop, there's no latency. Mine has latency now because they haven't been serviced in a long time, and after, of course, over time, it happens. But I think maybe
the 1200 took like this to get up to speed, and then when the black one came, it took like this. But the new one is up to speed like this.
Yeah. I think a potential definition of audiophile would be someone who is concerned with updating his system.
Let me just okay, now I can talk about it. That's cool.
I think that when it comes to gear, if you're happy with what you have, you're not an audiophile.
I have to address something right now because otherwise my mailbox will explode.
Okay.
Yes, there is a new UHQR announced. It's John Coltrane, A Love Supreme. Will be out, to my knowledge, very soon. And yes, I will get it at the shop soon.
Well,
so
you better hang up and get on.
Stop writing emails and ask. We will get it in Europe and all good, all good. Sorry for the interruption, but otherwise I would have to answer emails the whole night.
Oh, look, fancy pants. Yeah, that's good math. Yeah.
Now, I was just if we want to talk about a little bit about records again.
Yes, please.
All right, guys, I have to get back to work.
Okay, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
I love this record so much.
Yeah.
African Songbird.
This is the one record by Bia Benjamin with Dollar Brand backing band. I've been after that record for such a long time. This is a soul jazz record when Dollar Brand is more like spiritual jazz, and this is also spiritual jazz, but this is such a beauty on the South African label. Yeah, this is amazing.
Very cool. Amazing
vocal jazz. Yeah, probably one of the better vocal jazz records ever, I think.
So when did this one came out? Which year is this original?
71, 72, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say here. 75.
Okay. And is this again one of those really hard to get ones, or is this?
Oh yeah.
In the book?
This label, everything is good. After my opinion, you can see like it looks.
Yeah, Sun. Oh, I wish I could go get some, but they're actually in piles.
But also on Sun, you have this one, which is more like reggae and funky reggae.
Yeah.
It's also really, really amazing.
I never heard that one.
No.
I've seen it, but I never heard it.
It's really good.
Okay.
And if you want to go into more like jazz, disco, funk,
Black disco. Is it again on the same label, Thomas?
It's all in the same label.
Beautiful.
There's like 40 records on this label, and all of them are good.
And a lot of them are cheap. Also.
A lot of you can find a lot of them for like 10-15 euro.
Oh, that's good too. And is it a European label or
South African?
It's from South Africa.
Ah, okay, cool.
This one is the most rare one, I think. The hardest one to find.
Because like it was mostly a jazz label, so this one is a little bit like left field compared to the rest of the catalog. They probably didn't do as many as the Dollar Brand ones.
No, Dollar Brand was part of the label,
so
he put a lot of his stuff out on the Sun, and his stuff in much larger quantity. So his stuff you can get for 20, 30.
Yeah.
A question for Records Are Dangerous, aka Stunty. Are you located in France or Canada?
I'm located in Sweden. En France, mon québécois. Je suis en Suède, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm from France, but I live in Sweden.
Bet, thanks for the question, but I think Günther will join us eventually too on those streams here, and please keep that question and he can answer those questions to him the best. I think just wait until he is here and he will answer. Here you go. I knew it.
This is Günther's favorite record.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
I think this is one of my favorites from some.
Okay.
Which one's that?
Exactly, which one? On the Saturn label, yeah.
Doors of the Cosmos.
Yeah. I like the choir on that one. That's one of the track I play mostly when it's on.
That label is amazing. You don't see that one as much.
Oh, they're amazing.
It's weird because like the El Saturn, I remember when I got mine in around 2003, 2002, like 20 years ago, and people were telling me, oh, you could find them so easily before, and I could much more than now, and they were talking 20 years ago, and I thought that they were a bit expensive, but I could still find them 20 years ago, and I constantly hear how difficult they are, and I constantly see people getting them anyways, because I think no one knows how many he did, and he did so many like private presses and in the Sunrise instance, private press doesn't mean that it's a super low quantity, because they were all private press, which meant that he could print them on demand in a way. I'm not saying they're easy to find, but I don't think, like Günther explained, there are some that are really crazier, but considering the amount he did and the way he did them, a lot of them are still like, it's not easy, but it's possible. It's not.
Yeah, they're out there.
You're right when you talk about the record itself, Santi, but maybe I misunderstood it. But to my understanding, the point also is that there are not huge pressings, and there are a lot of variations due to the fact that he has this paste-ons and those individual drawings and signings and stuff like that. So you can have a Sunra record, I think, in 5 different versions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes 15 different.
Yeah.
I used to see them at one of the big stores in Brooklyn, Academy Records, on their walls for $50, $60. At that time, I wasn't really buying $50, $60 records, but like Santi said, they were out there. I mean, you would see them. But
which year are you talking now, Dom? When you
around
saw
that
them?
time, maybe 2005, 2007, when I was really going to that store the most, based on my proximity. But yeah, I mean, they were out there, and I think because of that, because there's so many titles, he would pressing them, sort of Wild Wild West in a way, the way he was doing it. I mean, they're around, but now it's becoming obviously stupid. So
stupid is one of those words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, just what you see some of these prices. I mean,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
art. They're paying for art at this point. They're not paying for the record. They're paying for art.
I have the 5.6 I need, or I think I need, and I've stopped looking. Like the one that Thomas just showed. That one is one of the few ones where I'm like, maybe I would still want that one, but I'm good with Sunra. For me, Disco 3000 and Space Probe is where, even if I had some of the other good ones, these are the two ones I would still always go back to. So
I have many of the Impulse versions, including the Angels and Demons, and even those Impulse pressings. I mean, no surprise because people can't afford the 4 figures. Those are going up too. Those used to be 20. I mean, I think I got that for maybe $15. Those are, 15 up now.
there's a pretty cheap. Oh wait, maybe I'm mistaken. I was about to say that there's a pretty cheap Sunra dollar brand record, but I think I'm wrong, and I think I'm talking about the Vibe player. Like also that, but Dom, help me. You know
Dickerson, Walt Dickerson.
Yeah, Walt Dickerson. Yeah, that one is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have that. I'm familiar. I don't have it.
It's a super cheap record.
Mm-hmm.
There are unbelievable cheap records out there. You just have to be aware of
this
them,
is
right?
a Sunra record. That's what I meant. It's still a super cheap one because it's
Mm-hmm.
not a private press. But in the end, considering I think maybe it was on Enja or something like that, which is why I was thinking of Dollar Brand. How many? I have no idea. How much could an Enja pressing be in the early 80s when Enja was considered as ECM type of label, but not as prestigious. So they probably had smaller quantities. They didn't have Keith Jarrett. Dollar Brand was probably the biggest name they had, which is no one knows outside of jazz. So
there's also a couple on Inner City, I think, which are pretty inexpensive. I don't know if those are reissue. I don't know off the top of my head if they're reissues or not, but those you can find for around $20 to $30.
Yeah, with all this policy of him, how he puts and the records out and very, very strange in a way. So it's very difficult with first pressing and second and third. And all of a sudden I have a Sunra record here. First pressing, Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, right?
I just think he didn't care. He just wanted to get his message out there one way or another. So the more spreading he could do around,
he was quite. Yeah, he was quite a political figure in a way, in a good way.
The records on Horo, Italy, those are first pressings too. The 3 on Horo.
Oh yeah. Well, there are lives right on there.
Yeah, I believe they're all recorded live.
They're kind of like the equivalent for Sunra of the records on Big, BYG for Archie Shep and didn't Sunra also had on Big?
He's got a couple on Big, yeah.
That are not, in my opinion, not must-haves.
They're out. The one I think I have volume 1 of the one or volume 2, and it's definitely him at his most extreme, I would say.
Okay, but Dom, I'm surprised. Is maybe not the right word, but I didn't know that you're also so deep into Sunra. I'm cool.
I don't have any Saturn pressings. Like I said, I didn't buy them when.
Yeah, but you know a lot about him. You have quite some records of him. Wow.
Yeah, I have maybe 20 to 30 Sunras, but again, it's mostly Impulse. It's like some of those late 70s pressings. I have some reissue. The ESP ones. I have the ESP ones like Heliocentric Worlds. Those are excellent, but no Saturns. I missed on the Saturns.
Yeah, you had the chance. Remember, 50, 60 bucks.
I was probably like that seems insane. Why would I do that? But yeah, I was buying a lot more rock at that time, some jazz, but yeah, I wasn't in the market.
Sometimes we are all too late.
Yeah.
Or didn't do it when we should have done. But hey, come on, that's life. I mean,
yeah, there's other things that I did get at the time that I'm glad I did, and so that's fine.
Have you ever seen a record you didn't get because you said, "Oh, I don't know," and now you regret it? More than one time?
Yeah. I mean, the last WFME record fair, I can definitely think of a few that I saw. I mean, they weren't cheap, but again, they're probably 3 times what they are now. So
Yeah,
Thomas,
there's also the
you
record.
smiled when I asked. So you have made that experience too, Thomas, right? That you have been in a store or a fair and didn't grab it when you should have?
A lot of time, because I try to be a little bit ahead of the trend because I have a shop. So, but sometimes it's like you don't know that Sunra will be that big 20 years ago.
Okay.
But if you start, I'll show you some, because we talked about last time that you wanted to know the best Danish jazz records, and I had them at home. But I did bring some of them, a few of them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
Heavy.
Danish. Yeah, the biggest name in Danish jazz.
Sahib Shihab.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, Thomas? It's funny. On Tuesday, I talked with Günther about exactly this record, and he says this is impossible to get.
Yeah, I'll tell you a weird story, because I always wanted this jazz label called Debut.
Yeah.
A Danish guy bought it from the Americans. The first that came out was from America, but a Danish guy in Jutland, on the farmer side of Jutland, he bought the label, and he put out like 30 records on this label. And he had like Hipsy Harp, Miles Davis, Dexter Gordon,
Albert Taylor.
Mingus, all of those names that are on those. And I always said, if I would need to reissue a serious record, I wanted to do the debut one. And I started to look into it, and I got on a journey from the guy in Jutland, he died, then to his brother, and then to the wife that got married to an American guy, and then it went into the widow of Mingus. But like a week ago, a guy contacted me on Discogs and said, I saw you have one of the 7-inches. I put up like 5 of the 7-inches on debut on Discogs. There's only one I'm missing, and you have it. I said, you can have it, but I would like to drink a coffee with you, because he said he had all the rights, he have all the masters for debut records.
Okay.
And Stable Chase, which is another Danish label.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just waiting to find out, to have a coffee and maybe re-release those stuff.
Oh, nice.
There's a reissue and a Japanese one, which sounds amazing, made 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So probably still also not that easy to get if it's 20 years ago, right? Or has that a good availability, the reissue?
I think the reissue might be around €100. So it's while this one goes from 2,000 to 10,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of the rare ones. And
I think if you have such a record, question and an observation, if you have this record you just showed us, I think every copy is a product of its own. You know what I mean? Because if you have it and if you are willing to sell it, it's always a completely different situation, a completely different condition. And you cannot say, okay, the average Discogs price is now this or that. I think this doesn't work with those kind of records, right?
No, you have to figure out if you want it when you see it, because you might never see it again.
Mm. And also, if you're unlucky and you have a dealer who says, "Yeah, I'm willing to let it go for a very high amount, but beneath this amount, I just keep it because I'm happy with it," right? That's often a problem when you want those kind of records.
Yeah, I think it become a part of me as well.
Mm.
I think I paid €100 for it.
Okay. But that's quite some time ago.
I'll never pay thousands of euros for.
So you are also a record dealer, as we know all by now. Are you willing to let go of any record if the price is right, or is the collector and music lover in yourself too strong with say, no, this is not for sale? This is simply not for sale.
I try not to tempt anybody with the one I don't want to sell.
Okay. Okay.
So showing you to nobody knows that you have them. I'll just show one more of the Danish one. It's
Yeah,
also
of course, please.
A beautiful one.
What makes these records so desirable? And is it the music? Is it the scarcity? Is it what Stanti said with the 2066? It's just a collector's thing, or are those really, really amazing, outstanding records?
both those records.
For all of
This
you.
is amazing music.
Outstanding records, both of them. They're really good. They're really well played, and it's on top of everybody's career that you have here. It's the biggest name in Denmark. It's Shahib Shahab's, which is, in my opinion, maybe his two best records.
Okay.
And you know, he Saib, he did 2 records with a band that I talked about last time with you, from Portugal.
Yeah.
He's featured. He did an album with Victor Rua of Telectu, and he's on an album Telectu Saib.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. But if you ask me again if I will sell it, I will say I won't sell it. I will, if somebody could give a lot of money for charity, I will give it to them.
Okay. Okay. That's a take on it. Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to show 2 records that might be fun to show to Thomas. I'm sure he knows them very well. But it's 2 Danish records that came out only on the French label.
Oh, wait a second. I'll make you big.
You know this?
No.
Thomas?
No, I can't remember what it is.
Knud Victor.
Knud Victor. Yeah.
And these are experimental electronic music that is solely the theme is water, and water is used as the main source for making these records. There was a 7-inch as well he made that there's a reissue of it all, and these are the copies that were used for the scanning of it all. But yeah, it was released on a very small French label in I don't know when exactly, probably early 80s or late 70s. And Knud Victor is like with Else Marie Pade, one of the 2 pioneers of electronic music in Denmark. But it was released in France.
Cool. Look in your spam folder, Sean. Yeah, I can imagine that a lot of people are now excited for the new UHQR Love Supreme.
Whatever happened to the lacquers? Are they still doing lacquers? Is that still a thing?
What are you talking about?
The Love Supreme, wasn't there going to be a lacquer done of that one? They were going to try to sell the
Yeah, I think you already put out the Love
that
Supreme
happen?
45, right? I can go it here.
Why would they do a lacquer of something that is also available on another format? Makes 0 sense.
Sell you another format.
Yeah. You do a lacquer when you can't afford to do a normal pressing.
An actual pressing, yeah.
Here is the acoustic sound series version, the 33, and this is the 45. The 2.
What was that record, Thomas? Don't forget it.
No, wait. Okay, I'll go back.
Oh, okay. Now he's gonna.
He has the originals probably, right?
I was thinking I will show you the promo, but I think I have that one at home. But this is original.
Okay, cool.
And
Can you show me the inside of the original? I would love to see that.
Yeah.
When you open up the gatefold from an original.
if it's
But while he's opening it, Dom, don't you agree that like even 10 years ago, this was not an expensive record? This was a fairly easy record to get.
Love Supreme, you mean, Stunty?
Yeah.
Yeah, the record store that I still work at here and there. I mean, not too long ago, we had a first mono on the wall for $75.
Nice.
You know, which I thought at the time was even kind of high.
Yeah, okay, but what condition was it? I think
it was nice. It was nice.
Okay. Because
maybe not pristine,
that a lot of those copies are pretty beaten up, right? After all those years, and those are records they played and played and played and played.
Yeah, but I never paid more than $30 for this.
Okay, for an original.
For an original, yeah.
Impulse up until recently were all easy to find for a normal price, and the normal price is under 50. For
40 euro you could get.
Yeah.
And then you had this one rising to 50, 70. And
like
then
the Max
stuff started.
The Max Roach one, I think you can still find it for under $10. The even the mono version. And it's a fantastic record.
Yeah, it is.
Jason, welcome. Chet is ready to get an AP diaper for you for his new HQR.
I just showed this before. This is from Israel, jazz. It's the Holy Grail from Israel.
It's an Israeli record. Wow.
Yes, and it's amazing.
Is it the one? Yeah, go on, Michael. Sorry.
Which year is it?
It's normally I have the year on the cover, but
no problem. Just roughly, we don't. Yeah.
I would say it's late 60s.
Cool. Where did you get this? An Israeli record and the Grail. You found it in Great Britain, or where did you, or in a collection, or where did you get this?
So I bought it in Denmark. Somebody had it, and I went to a back of the yard and paid money for it.
Is it a modal jazz record?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Because Israel was still kind of a British colony for a long time, and they had British administrators, and it would make sense then that it would be modal jazz. It's funny, like in the VC, it's very rare I hear people talk about modal jazz, which obviously will eventually become a buzzword for everyone. I can't imagine that within the next few years we won't have people obsessing about modal jazz. But it's like it almost doesn't exist right now. Yeah. Don't you think so?
Sometime. I feel like it's discussed here and there, but I mean, I think people maybe miscategorize it as spiritual jazz, or just sort of give it that umbrella term a lot of the time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, go, Thomas.
No, I just say I got into the spiritual jazz because of the artwork. Because for me it was weird in the beginning, and then I started to love it, and like artwork like this.
Oh yeah.
Very cool one. I'm looking for that.
Maybe you got lucky in New York, Dom, on the train. Yeah.
I bought this one in New York.
See?
Yeah, I have the reissue of that one. That's got a lot of vocals on it.
Yeah, and they said it was one of the band members that brought it into the shop.
So you got a good price. Yeah.
It was not compared to the price now. It was a good price, but I think it was like $500-$600 at that time. But maybe it's $8 now.
At what time, Thomas? When did you buy it?
I bought this 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So there was already because to understand why these records are really expensive and hyped now, it's for one reason, which is Fortet, Kieran Hebden, who did 4 records with what's the name, the drummer or the boss of the label
of this label.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I gotta go. I got tree people here cutting down my tree. So
By them.
Take care of it. Thank you very much for joining. It was really a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Before you go, remind us the name of the drummer, the guy who ran the label, the David Verten, the guy who basically all these records that got hyped because Kieran Hebden of Fortet started to collaborate with them.
you're talking about Mustevic? Steve Reed.
Yeah, Steve Reed. Yeah.
So yeah.
And this record that Kieran Hebden and Fortet did with Steve Reed here, they came out on Domino. They're super cheap and they're amazing. They're as good as these records.
Stanley, you should do a list. You should do a list. Amazing jazz records under, let's say, $40. I think that would be an amazing video. Are you willing to share those?
But that's what I do on a weekly basis.
On your stream, right? But the people want a 10-minute video, you know? Name them.
Well, if people
easy to digest.
What they want, we get Adolf Hitler, huh? So.
Come on. I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say
no, but
so.
I'm
At least I don't hope.
Extreme, but it's you know, it's a thing though that like music collecting and music buying, it's a personal journey. It has a pace. It's nice, like if you get everything at the same time, then it's an investment maybe. But I think sometimes maybe you want to do it anyways, and I can understand it. But if you can afford it time-wise, taking time is pacing yourself. Imagine, Michael, I know that can happen to you, but when you get 1 grail a month, it's not the same feeling than if you get 20 grails in an afternoon.
Of course not.
I mean, the moment it happens, it's very cool. But you know, the next few hours, next few days, and the anticipation also. It's
you get 20 grails in an afternoon. That's but okay. I get it, to make it a picture that you can follow. But you know, I'm 58 now.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Come again?
That's a good point.
And yeah, time gets shorter.
Yeah.
How long you don't know how long do I have to enjoy this? How long do I have to collect it? And you know, one of the experiences in getting older is that you stop doing things that you never would have thought that you stopped doing them. For example, going excessively into clubs.
Yeah.
That 10 years ago, this would have been a death sentence to me. If someone would have said, you don't go to clubs regularly. I said, of course. And now I'm older and said, hey, come on, now it's 11 o'clock. Now I want to go to bed. I'm tired. This is not fun.
And if you go to clubs, then you won't get a chance to listen to the records you bought. Also,
right. That's true. That's true. Right.
Like,
and so time is a relatively thing when you.
Yeah, I used to go out to clubs every week in Paris, and even here in Stockholm. I mean, and when I say every week, several times a week.
Yeah.
Usually, you go out dancing on Wednesdays and Thursdays. In big cities, you go out when you live in the big city. You go out the days where people
don't go.
don't go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so that it's more cozy and a different feeling. And now, if I go to a club, it will be the weekend. If I go, and all the time,
If I go,
yeah.
yeah, of course.
And
How
it's
is it
very
with
easy.
you and clubbing, Thomas? You have been a DJ too. Do you still do clubbing and partying and stuff like that?
I went to a club. One of my friends has like the 20 club in Copenhagen, and he was like, "Come in." And I had some visitors from London, and I did go in there. I was in there 1 minute, and they said, "Hey, granddad." Like, yeah.
Well, to be fair, last Saturday, you called me, Michael, during the Saturday afternoon, when I was at a rave.
Right. And then I said, "Can I give this tiny information? Although it was private, I think I can. Like we can share it." And I said, "Stunty, you are too old for this shit." And he said, "No, if you are also a DJ, you are not too old."
Well, I meant that if you're playing, if you're
playing, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, right. You are not too old.
But if I should recommend a cheap record at the moment, it's this
please.
one coming out.
Marshall Allen. Oh yeah, I don't know that one.
Celestia. Again, jazz music, Thomas?
Both those two guys played with Sun Ra.
Okay.
For Marshall played with him since the 50s until he died. And they were in Holland in the studio and recorded this one tape to tape, and it's amazing.
Beautiful. The jacket, the cover art is a stunner. Wow.
Yeah.
But it's not silk screened by any chance, right? It is not.
No, it's not.
Beautiful.
But I really enjoy this one, and it's also a good way to get into the Sun Ra music because it's not that complicated and it sounds really, really good.
Beautiful.
And Marshall Allen, he's 99 years old now.
99. Okay. Yeah. If he does clubbing, he probably does, you know. He probably does.
And tell us which instrument he's playing, Thomas.
He's playing flute, and I think it's mostly flute he play on it.
And what's amazing that he's that age is because he's a reed player. Most often, jazz players who play the reed, like trumpet, like they die not very old because they fuck up their mouth so much, their lips and all that, and they get like issues that spread in the body. It's
yeah, he also plays the sax on this one. I can see here.
What time you're on? Wait, Stunty.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. As Svetlana now is at an vernissage, I am open and I have time. The hunger, when I get too hungry, then I will. Today it's open. I have time.
Yeah, like apparently, French Vinyl Addict. He did go to a lot of record fairs. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Welcome to the channel.
Hey.
First timer.
How's it going? How's it going? No, I know you guys are just talking. Like I said in the chat, I don't really like the term grails because that's just a weird term.
Wait. Cole, I must say something historical has just happened.
What's that?
Cole is on one stream, and the first sentence he pronounced was not, "I'm just here for a second, guys."
Does he say that? I didn't know
you
that.
say that all the fucking time. You say you're not going to get the benefit of my presence for a very long time, guys.
No, but so when I was,
you don't know, Cole has a small record label as well.
I used to. I had two. My first record label was when I was 18, so that was at this point 20 years ago, more than that. And I had a label about 10-15 years later, and we put out stuff like Kurt Vile has been on other records. It wasn't a big label. We did like a To Live and Shave in LA record, which, you know, I know Stunty, you know of them. Yeah, so I've been putting out records since I was like a teenager, and I'm 40 now. So that kind of shows you.
That makes you the youngest amongst us.
I'm turning 41 next week. So I like to say I've been 21 for the last, I don't know, 19 years, give or take. So no, but when when I was a teenager, I was, I'm a huge Sonic Youth nerd, and Thurston Moore put out my sort of first gateway into free jazz was Sonic Youth, and clearly that's an easy gateway to get through if you're into Sonic Youth. But he did this like list of the top 10 underground free jazz records, and he probably put it out maybe in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. And I've been seeking every record on that list, not necessarily original pressings because they're super obscure records. But as I've gotten older and I've gotten more money, I have tried to get some of the original pressings. So I've wanted this since I was like 19 years old, this Marion Brown record. Unbelievable record. Super, not kind of different from a lot of Marion Brown records, really sparse, kind of minimal sounding.
So I read in Sommerhausen, which sounds quite German, Cole.
I think this was recorded in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say I don't have the year in front of me, but I think this was like 70-ish, maybe even like 75. I've got to look. So don't quote me on that. But Steve McCall is great on this, but I mean Marion Brown is just, he's on fire here.
Is it like a crazy record, like the music?
What's that?
Is the music like crazy wild?
No, it's actually pretty minimal. It's not like just bombastic, like, it's nothing like that, especially some of Marion Brown's like late 60s stuff where it's just like super intense. This is pretty restrained, which is kind of interesting because if you look at Thurston Moore's list of free jazz records, this is one of the more restrained ones. So I've got almost everything on that list. The only one that I'm missing is this, and I can never pronounce the dude's name, Marcezi Watts. It's an ensemble record, and it's impossible to like. The last one that's been sold on Discogs was like in 2018 or something wild, and it goes for about like $500. Now I contacted a private dealer that had it, but I think he wanted
you can find it. It's a record, you can find it. Cool. It's there are copies, like mint copies of this that around.
If you know where I can get one, let me know. That's like I'm willing to pay like $200 or $300 for it. But $500.
Do you think that's realistic? If the last copy has been sold over at Discogs 5 years ago for 500, you think it's realistic to get one copy for $200-300 still?
No. And there was supposed to be a reissue that was supposed to come out at the end of the year, and I forget what label was doing it, and they got called out, I guess, on Twitter or something because it was essentially a bootleg, and so the label decided not to do it. I would be fine with a bootleg. I just want that record. I'm not a huge like, I need the OG or of this. Like, as long as I can listen to the record and it sounds good, I don't want a crap sounding record, but as long as it sounds good, I'm totally cool with, a new pressing or even a bootleg press. A lot of obscure hardcore bands, especially 7 inches, right? Like, I have friends who are super uber specific about collecting hardcore 7 inches, and they'll spend $600-700 for like a Vile first pressing, or even like a Black Flag like first pressing, or something. And that's totally cool. And I did that for My War. That's one of my favorite Black Flag records. But I'm totally cool with just being like, if they're going to reissue the 7-inch or the 12-inch, I'm just going to buy that. But again, when it comes to stuff and you guys were talking about earlier, if you really love something, and everything that's on that list is great, but I highly, highly recommend this record. I mean, that list is the reason why I got into Dave Burrell. I think Dave Burrell is one of the best pianists, in jazz, and I got to see Dave Burrell open for Thurston a couple of years ago. So it was really cool.
How big is the list? How many records are there on that list?
I can pull it up for you. I can pull it up right now. It's actually, I have it saved on my Discogs as like kind of like.
I never knew if it was true, but like in
there's
the
14 of them. There's 14 records.
14, because in the 2000s there was this. People were saying that Thurston Moore had a flat in London, in New York, that was only for his jazz collection that
That's
had
true.
like 20,
That's 100% true. I've talked to
that
him
there
about it.
was
It's
only
100% true.
20,000 jazz records in it.
Well, and
20,000.
yeah,
of
and
only
so
one
I
type of
I had interviewed Thurston for a radio show I had a couple of years ago, and I asked him this. There's this story, this myth, because he's like, I've never purchased an actual CD in my life, and you know, he's obviously in Sonic Youth, so people have given him CDs throughout the last 20, 30 years, and he's just collected all of them. And one day he was just like, I need more space, so he took all of the CDs that he had, which was like thousands, picked a random record store just like on Google Maps and just shipped over all of his CDs. Like,
without having listened ever to any.
yeah, he said he's never purchased a CD, he's never listened to one. He just doesn't, he just chooses not to do that. I asked him, I was like, is that true? And he was like, yeah, that's 100% true. And that, yeah, his flat in New York where he just had 20,000 records just stored there, 100% true. 100%
and not
true.
20,000 records, 20,000 jazz records.
Yeah, yes. I didn't ask him specifically about the genre, but I'd heard that story floating around. He was also on, I forget what podcast a couple of years ago, and the dude asked him, like, how many records do you think you own? And he actually had to calculate, you know, he's like, well, I've got a place in New York. You know, this was probably 7 or 8 years ago. He was on this podcast. He said somewhere in the realm of 300,000 records that he owns, you know, and there's a good video online of him and Matt Scofferson record shopping in like Paris or something. And they're just going wild. Like, they're just finding stuff that it's like, number one, to have the knowledge to find that stuff is pretty unreal. But then to be at a store that actually has that stuff. But anyways, yeah, that's why I jumped on the stream, because I'm not a Grail guy, but this just came in the mail and I got it for a good price.
Thanks for sharing this.
Yeah, no, and I highly recommend, if you're into Marion Brown, or just if you're trying to dip your toes into free jazz and you don't want to go all Brotzman, you know what I mean, like right away or something.
Come on, Brötzmann is amazing.
Oh,
and
I agree 100%.
And he's not that hard to get into as one might think.
No, I agree, especially if you're coming out of like a punk or hardcore background. Like, if you're into like punk or hardcore and you like listen to Machine Gun, that to me is like a punk record. You know what I mean? Like, it's just super, almost, I would say it's not fast, but like when I remember listening to that when I was like 17, 18 years old and being like, this is like a punk record. It sounds like Negative Approach or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, so my approach to jazz has always been it's punk.
And what I really do love, especially about Machine Gun, the first 20 seconds is really crazy and wild and not amusing. And then when the guys who said, oh, no, that's not for you, when they are all gone, then they start with the jazzy, that's so funny. And
well, Brotzman said that Machine Gun is his idea of what a big band should sound like. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, I want to make a big band record. And that was his way of being like, this is my interpretation of what like a jazz big band would sound like. And here's a fun fact.
This record. Wait, let's just show the people the record we are talking about, John. No? So this is the Machine Gun by Brötzmann. Beautiful jacket art. Sorry,
the reissue of that is really good. The reissue is great too. But I was gonna say, one of the last interviews Bill Clinton, the president, ever did as president, somebody was in his, like, he was driving to some event, and so this guy only had 5 minutes with Bill Clinton, and he had no idea what to ask him. And this is a true story. You can find it online. The guy goes, who's your favorite saxophone player? And Bill Clinton, without a minute, just says, Peter Brötzmann.
No, he did?
Yeah, it's online. You could totally, it's real. That's a real Bill Clinton quote.
Jason, welcome. Well, that's a surprise.
Let's go hard right here. Let's go hard.
Yeah, that's a good record. That's a good record.
Let's go hard, right?
I actually saw Marshall Allen's 99th birthday a couple months ago. He was just turned 99. It was his birthday, and he played a show. And he hadn't lost a step. He played, and he looked 99, but he played and acted like he was, you know, still in his 60s or something. So that dude may be the oldest player in jazz and maybe in music that's active.
There's a few, but yeah, he's definitely there. Yeah, I think it was in 92 or 93, probably 92. I saw in Paris a concert of Kaspar Brotzmann, Massacre, the band of his son. I had no idea of Peter Brotzmann. I was 15, and even if Cole knew who Peter Brotzmann was when he was 15, but I didn't.
17, give or take. Yeah, but yeah.
But for me, like I loved his album Coxophone, and his son, he has a band that is more rock, noise rock, industrial noise rock, but rock, really, and it's quite, it's a bit strange in a way that there's like really heavy mood in it. It's not like, and when I say heavy, I mean it's a little bit sinister in a way. The way he sings and all that. And it was a super tiny venue in Paris called Les OPE. Like you couldn't be more than 20 in it, and it was great. And I was chatting, like, of course, the few people who are in the venue, you are chatting with them. There's like a small bar, and everyone is around there, and then there's the stage, and I was like, everyone was chatting with each other. And years later, I learned that like Peter Brotzmann was one of the 5 other people in the venue that we were talking with, without having any knowledge it was him, who he was, or anything. He was just there to support his son.
Yeah, he has a good, and he hasn't put out a lot of records, but Casper did a record with Paige Hamilton from Helmet. It's like it doesn't sound like Helmet, and I'm not a big like Helmet guy. When it comes to like noise rock, I was a Cherubs guy, you know what I mean? I was never like a Helmet dude. But that record he did with Paige Hamilton is actually really good. And there's a record he did with his dad. I think he did a couple records with his dad.
He did at least one, probably.
Yeah. And a buddy of mine knew Peter just through another friend, and they were once having beers together, and he asked, Peter, he was like, when will you ever do something with Casper again? And Peter was like, he needs to get his shit together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they had a really good relationship.
No, they did. They toured a lot.
Oh, no, I know they toured. But I think at some point, not they had a bad relation, I have no idea, but Peter Brotzmann was like, he just needs to get his shit together, and then we'll do another record. He could have been joking, but I mean, I know they didn't do a lot as far as recording goes together, which is good and bad, I guess, But yeah, it was a shame when Brotzmann died. That was because Brotzmann was also another door opener for me. Like through Brotzmann, I got into way more European jazz. I was strictly an American jazz guy for free jazz.
And have you ever gotten into this free improvisation society?
Yeah, the LA. Yeah. I have that box set that's on Vinyl on Demand.
Okay.
You're talking about, that thing is really cool.
There's another box set that came out a few years before that is pink and yellow, of the Los Angeles Free Music Society, that has quite different stuff. And it doesn't get hyped yet, but
no,
eventually...
was a misunderstanding. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
Instant Composers Pool.
Oh, no,
ICP, which is also the label.
Oh,
in the Netherlands.
Label. It's the English label that had Derek Bailey and all the improv guys.
I think they're from the Netherlands, Nanti.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, because it's Misha Menge.
Yeah, it's Netherlands. Yeah.
I was reading a piece on that group Hijo Kaiden, and Jojo was saying that if it wasn't for Derek Bailey coming to Japan, that scene would not have been as active as it was. So that dude actually touring Japan, I think it was in the 70s, was like, that's part of the reason why like Hijo Kaiden exists, partly due to him. And I've just recently got into Derek Bailey. It's like one of those things where you just hear his name all the time and you just don't know where to begin,
Paul, you have all the time in the world. You're only 40 or 41.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, I've been 21 for 19 years. So yeah, I got way longer, I hope. No, I just started buying a couple of Derek Bailey records, but yeah, I mean, it's again, when it comes back, when Brotzman passed away, though, you know, I had heard rumors that he wasn't doing too well, and then when he made that announcement that he just wasn't going to be playing any more shows, I was like, oh, like this is not good. And I just bought that Brotzman Oxbow collab that just came out not too long ago, and I was listening to that, and I literally, as I was listening to it, I heard the news that he had passed. So that was a pretty rough. You know, I don't really, not that I don't care when musicians die, but he's one of those musicians where it's like when I was in my later teens, he opened the door, you know, to just a lot more music. You know,
about Derek Bailey, I wanted to say it's quite interesting his career, how he was known throughout his career, because for the longest time he was the improv guy in England that that only people in improv knew about, and the few people who were not into improv who got exposed to his music would instantly think this guy doesn't even know how to play the guitar.
Right.
And then in the early 90s, John Zorn released a CD of his called Guitar, Drum and Bass on his Tzaddik label.
Yep.
And just because of the marketing, calling it drum and bass, when it was released, it got attention, and Wire magazine started to talk extensively about him in a different context than just the improv scene. And then he got some gigs and some tunes with electronic musicians, like IDM stuff. He was featured on Glow recording compilations and such stuff like that. I think he might even have done something with Luke Vibert at one point. And it's although Luke Vibert was also doing all these records with B.G. Cole, the master of slide guitar, and yeah, it was quite interesting to see when suddenly it was hip to be into Derek Bailey, when the culture was not there yet, because all the kids like me, like in the early 90s, there was no way we would understand or appreciate it for what it was. But now it seems that the culture is there in a much more honest way, and I don't think that people still understand fully Derek Bailey's craft. I don't say that I do even, but that I can appreciate it and find honest pleasure in it. I can say it honestly now. But for those who don't know, it is literally the how do you say, the Wild West of music. It is where, like, if you've never heard that kind of music before, it would be, I can understand that this is the most extreme music you've ever heard. Not in terms of loudness and violence and all that, but in terms of, is this music, when it's obvious to anyone still that he's using a music instrument and playing it, not like banging it.
Yeah. Well, it's like getting into him was like when about 10, 15 years ago, I finally got into Lorraine Connors. And that was just so, there's so much there that I just didn't know where to begin. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where I just kind of took a chance on some records in a record store. And that's the same thing I did with Derek Bailey. I just said, okay, well, I'm just going to go kind of head first in, you know what I mean? So it's, when people ask me, they're like, you know, Jason, you had a Sun Ra record that you were just showing. And I remember when I was running a record store, I used to own a record store north of Baltimore, Maryland. And there was this guy that came in, you know, and he was, you know, in his probably early 30s, and he was just into like standard jazz, but he'd always heard of Sun Ra, and he's like, it's not that I think Sun Ra is super weird. He is, but like there are hundreds of records and I don't even know where to begin. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I am with that band, The Fall. Like there's so much with The Fall that like I'm just like, where do I even start with that band? You know what I mean? Or Jandek, right? Like Jandek's the same way. He's got like,
yeah, but in your case, it's a great point you put out there, because there are, of course, recommendations you can give when it comes to The Fall. But in your case, as you have a quite determined and special taste in music. The Fall, you should start with the Fall at a different point as other collectors, and that's the difficult part. But if you have this vast or prolific output like the Fall or Sun Ra, you find for every taste the perfect entry point, right?
Michael,
yeah.
the problem with this whole, not what you say, but like where do I start with? What does that mean? That means that, oh, I'm afraid that I start with the wrong one, and that I might like that band, but I get a record I don't like from that band. That's what it literally means, right?
Yeah.
So when you feel that you have the curiosity, that that it's worth being curious about it, then you have to accept that the potential disappointment, you have to go past them.
Yeah.
You have to accept that they might be there and to not pass judgment because of your disappointments. Because I had the exact same thing with the Fall. I started, the Fall were very active when I started to buy music. I even DJed for the Fall in 2003 in the UK. And in 2003, I can tell you, I was still under the same impression of the music I had of them from the music they were doing in the early 90s, which I still don't like. But I still tried, and having someone tell you, I think I started to know you a little bit, Cole, and I see that you accept to take chances without needing authority figure telling you. Sometimes it's helpful, but and if you can have that, fine. But if you don't find it, you won't avoid it. You will do the homework.
Yeah, and I think, and I would assume everybody on this panel is the same way. When I was really getting into music when I was super young, so just a really quick 10, 20 seconds, I got into punk because of Nirvana. Like that was my punk rock mixtape. And through Nirvana, I got into Sonic Youth. And through Sonic Youth, it just opens up all the doors. You know what I mean? And so, anyways, what ended up kind of happening is, you know, I was so young and I didn't really have active. Number one, there was no internet then. And I wasn't really interested on anything on MTV. So I would just go to like record stores as like a 14-year-old and just like hang out there. This was, you know, probably at that point, 95, 94, 95, give or take. And there was no internet. And it was just being at a record store and asking like record clerks, like, well, if I'm into Sonic Youth, you know, I keep hearing about No Wave. Like, where do I start with No Wave? You know what I mean? And it was, of course, it was No New York, but then I got really interested in like the weirder stuff from No New York, like Mars. You know what I mean? And like Mars has this like super deep catalog if you're willing to like kind of go there. So to really go to your point, Stunty, it was, yeah, like I don't have social media, and that's not me like saying, oh, I don't have, it's kind of like saying I don't even own a TV. I just,
Wait, you don't have a Discogs?
I have Discogs, but I don't have like social media.
You have social media.
I use Discogs for like cataloging and buying, but I guess that would be considered.
Well, isn't that what socializing means?
I just use it for cataloging, so I don't really talk to anybody on it. It's just my, you know, I have not all my records on there, but I have like a fourth of them. But I don't like, so really all my recommendations come from me. Like I have a subscription to The Wire, and I just have all the friends that I've made throughout the years of like running a record label and running a record store. I have a tight knit group of friends who are into like this, all kinds of genres of music. And just today we were like texting each other about, oh, did you check out this cassette from this noise dude? You know what I mean? Like that's what I really enjoy. Like I don't really care about reading reviews or anything like that. Like I love it when friends just go, you got to check this thing out. That's the best feeling. And
I have always been too lazy. I have always been too lazy to read all those long reviews, and I just didn't care. I needed the record, the title, the artist, and the jacket, And then I'll go. What Radio Gnome just said, I think that's also my take on it. If there are very complex artists like Brötzmann or Sun Ra or The Fall, just jump into it, make a pick, and go for it from there. Thomas, what's your take with these kind of things when it's really complex? You just get into it, try it out, or do you seek for people who can give you advice?
I just jump into it.
Yeah, me too.
And then I try to learn, figure out all the records they did, and then figure out what is this about. That's also a little bit why I collect labels.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
band or whatever. I would need to learn, and then I find out which one I really like and which one is.
Yeah, and when you collect a label, when you got control over your opinions about that, then that's when you decide which one of that label you don't need to keep. Right?
Yeah. Then you have you're totally sure what you want to keep.
You have the overview, and then you decide. Right, Jason, you are the jump into it guy, or are you the guy who seeks information and talks to others and get advice, or you jump also into it?
I just do a little bit of both. Kind of ask some other people, then I start buying the records. I think I bought that like the fall record, which is called The Curious Orange. I think that's the soundtrack.
Well,
and
this is the fan favorite.
Yeah,
yes.
one of the fan favorites. Yeah.
Right, and that one's okay, right? But it wasn't the fall I was looking for, right? So, so to Sean, to Coltrane, like I wouldn't recommend that one to you. I would start with some early fall, right?
It's fun, Jason, real quick, not to interrupt you, but it's funny, Jason actually knows my real name, and I don't think anybody here really knows. I put out Jason's band many years ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's how Jason and I like know each other. Have we actually met? I mean, I know that I put out some records that you've been on, or something that you've been on. But Psychedelic Horseshit played a festival that I put together, but I don't think, were you there for the DNA Test Fest? Yeah.
No, that was when he knew you would be there, so that's why.
Yeah, he's like that's why you left that band. You're like, you know what, Sean's around, I'm not gonna. No, but yeah. So Jason and I, in a weird way, go when I'm talking about a lot of this stuff. We go back, even though we don't really know each other, we do go back like it's been 12, 13 years. So that's how small like punk can really be. It's like seeing him on like this stream or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, like I know Jason. But it's really interesting, Thomas, that you talk about collecting labels. And I think Jason and definitely Stunned, I think everybody here would relate. When I was getting into punk and underground music, labels were extremely important. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it was on
techno, is even more. In techno, it's even more important.
Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, but it's interesting as I've gotten older, but also as kind of the music business or industry has changed, labels don't seem to be as important anymore. Now, I think for like niche stuff, it is still.
Exactly, Cole. When let's say Bruce Springsteen puts out a new album, in a way you don't have to care on which label, because you find that in every music related newspaper. But for niche stuff, you don't do. And so the label is a really important information source, and from there you can go on. What else is on? I like this. What else is on this label? I go deeper and deeper.
I mean, I did that with Touch and Go. Like when I got into like Touch and Go when I was a kid, I started off with like the Jesus Lizard, and it was just like I need everything that Touch and Go is released. And so through that is how I got into like bands like Negative Approach. You know what I mean? Or like stuff that I wouldn't even normally touch, or like Man or Astro Man or something, but
Girls Against Boys.
Yeah, like I'm from, which is DC, so they're
just quickly before it becomes too late. Because it was so long ago, I just wanted to quickly ask, it's not connected, if Mordant Films has anything to do with Mordant music, because the typography is kind of a bit similar, and if it was connected to Mordant music, I'd be pretty interested. Sorry.
Oh no, and just what was on the screen, the My War. Yeah, My War is my favorite Black Flag record. I mean, I have you probably can't see it, but I have a My War tattoo. My Black Flag tattoo is the cover of
Wait,
My
I
War.
make you big. I make for tattoos.
Yeah.
I make you big.
Yeah, it's the best Black Flag record. I mean, clearly I have an OG My War flyer here. Like, I love I think My War, especially side 2, there's like, that's the like pinnacle of like, you know, the changing of the guard or the changing of how we look at hardcore. Like,
Yeah.
because it was just so slow. And I think that's why bands like Flipper and No Trend like were able to do as well as they were, because that record specifically. But going back to the you know, our labels nowadays, it's like, yeah, like, I don't know, unless you're into something really super niche like free jazz, or even like, I know earlier you guys were talking about like modal jazz maybe becoming a buzzword or something like that. I don't know how important labels are anymore, even for like general like independent music. Like, labels don't necessarily need to exist in that realm. And that's why I don't think I could ever do a record label again, partly due to the fact that it's a thankless job, but also it's like people don't digest music the same way. There's not a lot of people I know, unless it is something niche, where they're like, I got to buy everything on this label, you know?
You know, one of the main reasons is that why, as an independent artist, why did you need a label? Because they had bigger means of communication than you. Now, no one has bigger means of communication than anyone, unless we're talking big money.
Right.
Like, if you are on Coltrane's Amazing Cassettes label, you will probably reach as many people with your Instagram than he will with whatever he has. And you will reach your friends who will buy the records, which is even more potent in a way.
And
but
yeah, no, that's totally true. And that's like, and if you look at the big, and I'm just strictly speaking on kind of broad indie labels at this point, if you look at the big indie labels that still exist, and again, I'm just being very broad here. You look at somebody like Matador, or, you know, somebody like Sub Pop, their back catalog is actually what keeps them afloat. I mean, they have put out new records and they do really well, but if it wasn't for their back catalog, they wouldn't exist. And if you look at labels like in the last 20 years, like a Sacred Bones or a Mexican Summer, like those bigger indie labels that you kind of hear about on the internet, they exist because they have investors. And some of those people that run them are also trust fund kids. And I noticed when I did a record label, I was working at a pharmacy. I was making minimum wage. And I started putting out CDRs in like the early 2000s and worked my way up in like 2001, 2002 to my first 7-inch. And I never really turned a profit with that label. And then once I got into college, I met somebody who kind of had the same trajectory as I had. And he wanted to do a record label. And we put out a record. It was kind of a joke record. And it sold 200 copies in 2 days. And we were just like, oh, this is really weird, because it's a joke record. It's this band Clock Cleaner covering Negative Approach while opening for Negative Approach, but doing a 20-minute version of their most popular song, which started a riot in that venue. Like, people fought. So the record sells, and then we're like, oh, well, we'll put out another record. So we did a record with this band Ringo Death Star, and that sold really well. And then we put out like a Kurt Vile record, and he got signed to like, it was, you know, it's pretty wild. But what I'm getting at is I didn't come from money, you know what I mean? And it was hard to play that game especially because we were putting out really weird experimental records towards the tail end of us doing the label. And we knew that wasn't going to make money, but it was like, unless you decide to play that game and get like PR and have that infrastructure, it's hard to run a record label. And especially now where it's like artists don't need that label. You know, I always looked at labels as curators, right? Like they were curators of music. And what I was getting at really, and I'll kind of sum it up, is I don't know if labels are good at curating anymore, like on a broad scale. Now for a niche label, like anybody like 577 who like is deep into like, you know, like New York free jazz or something like that. Yeah, because that's what they concentrate on. But I don't know if there's like labels that are like, I'm really super interested, that are broad, that are good.
I think that the last really great label, indie label, that had a massive impact on music culture and the music industry is Warp.
Yeah.
And it's true that Warp right now is just another label. They may be a little more edgy than others, but they're not. There's nothing that special about them. But
yeah, on a smaller scale, Stunty, we have Dem Dexter did an amazing label, I think.
Yeah, but it's small. It's a boutique thing.
Yeah,
Plus, it is
but still quite influential, I think.
Not on the level of Warp.
Not on the level of Warp, of course.
But what's interesting with Warp is that even if, Cole might be right. Like there might not be any label anymore on that level in any genre. But what got Warp in the position they were? Electronic music was burgeoning. In '91, they sent a letter to a bunch of up and coming UK artists: Aphex Twin, B12, Autechre, Black Dog, Pled, and a bunch of like young kids, not like Sweet Exorcist, which was Richard H. Kirk. He was already around. He was already like a catch in a way. And these young guys, they had like one EP, a couple of EPs out, and maybe an album on a label. And all these bands were offered a deal. You sign with us for 5 albums or 4, I don't remember. I think it was 5. Aphex Twin said yes. Autechre said yes. Pled said yes. B12, they thought, 4 albums? That's way too much. We have our own label. Let's say no.
Yeah, no, you're right. I have a friend.
But the moral is that you might not know that. I think Michael understands what I'm talking is that B12 completely missed the train. Now they're kind of cult, but they never became impactful, relevant, or anything. And why is that? Because Warp, as a label, took a big chance. Who knows, if it had bombed, maybe they wouldn't have followed through. But they kind of did with Pled. Pled never became a big band. They produced some stuff for Björk and all that, but they were never big sellers, even on the scale Warp needed back then. And they were decent, but Warp kept them. They still release all their records. And I think that was like a founding moment. That is only a small moment, but in music history that we don't realize what it means, that like these young kids, 2 young guys took a massive chance on them, like labels did in the early 70s on bands. And no one had done that in years, for real, on real new artists with new music, new genre. So that's why Warp became relevant and the most relevant label for the next decade, if not more. And I think it's maybe not structural, but like for a label to matter that much, maybe they need to take that much of a risk as well.
No, and you're 100% right. Just to reaffirm what Stunty is saying, I have a friend whose ex got signed to Warp, and he was saying, yeah, like they signed them for like 5 albums. And this was recently. This was like probably in 2017 or 18. And he was like, yeah, like they're set for like, not set for life at all, but like their recording career could just be with Warp for their duration of their recording career. You know, that's a rarity nowadays. Like, and they still got a recording budget. You know, they still got they still got money out of the deal. But
yeah,
you're 100% right. Warp is probably the last big one that's like super important.
Autechre and Aphex Twin, we can count out LFO because he's dead, but he would still be on the label otherwise. Warp started in 1999. First Aphex Twin was 1991. First Autechre was 1992. They're still with the label. They have, like, Autechre has maybe like 15 albums under a time of 30 years. How many classic rock bands have a continuous career of 30 years with records out every other year or every 3 years?
I mean, the only one I could think of off the top of my head, Stunty, is like Yo La Tango, because they've been on Matador for the last 30 years and put out a record like almost every other year. But they're like the only like rock band that I could think of, you know, that has that trajectory, right? Like I can't think of any other rock band that has that trajectory that stays on a label.
Or soul or hip hop or
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a request from Leland Pfingstek. Can Thomas show some more rare records? let's let him. People love that, and I do too. Maybe we go into a break and Thomas shows more records and we comment on them. Okay, what do we have here, Thomas?
We are in Brazil.
Brazil now. Okay.
Yeah, and for me, it's the jazz label from Brazil that where all the records on the label are good. There's only like 15, 16 releases.
Okay.
The logo is one of the best logos. I really love the artwork on the logo they have.
Yes, nice one. So you have this logo on every record. Here's the label. Nice, beautiful.
Jose, Guided by Voices, they change label all the time. We're talking about bands who were on the same label for all the time. Sorry.
No problem. So beautiful condition. So this is a Brazilian pressing then, Thomas?
It's a Brazilian pressing, and this is number 8, FM8.
And when it comes to those Brazilian pressings, is it safe to say that we have same problem with the Canadian and African pressing, that it's very difficult to find in a good shape?
I would say this label Forma is the Brazilian Blue Note.
Okay.
They sound really good, even though they're smashed up.
So they are pressed like tanks, yeah, right? Like the Blue Note. Okay. Okay.
Even the cover, it's heavy and it's really good quality.
So we are talking 70s here again, or which decade are we in?
60s, 70s.
Great.
So everything on that label is good. Forma.
What is it? Forma or Coma?
Forma.
Forma. Okay, Forma. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that label. So is it jazz, or is it also a little Latin influence due to the fact that it comes out of Brazil?
Some of the records get a little bit into bossa nova.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I can show you a few more from Forma if you want to see it.
Please.
I just grabbed them here. 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Do you know those music too, Cole? Forma?
No, I don't. I was gonna, Thomas, or maybe you guys, where's Thomas from? Or Thomas, if you can hear me, where are you?
Thomas
living?
is from Denmark,
Okay.
and he's one of the largest used record dealers in the world. His warehouse holds over 2 million records.
Wow.
By the way, Cole, so you had a record store in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Was it a second-hand record?
It was. Long story short, when they started the record store, I sold my original collection about 15 years ago to this store because I, started a new record label, and they ended up bringing me in to start pricing records because they didn't really know what they had.
Go right back to you. 1 minute.
Yeah. So they didn't really know what they had, and then the guy was just like, "Hey, you know how to run a record store. Why don't you just, buy into this record store and co-run it with us and own it?"
Anton Jobin. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Wow. I've never seen an original of Nova. Yeah. Oh, Pirates des Caraïbes.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, having a shop in Baltimore and doing secondhand, did you have your share of sketchy sellers, like
Yeah.
people who came with like,
Ah,
oh, I have
this is
this collection to sell?
Yeah, no, there was some sketchiness going on, and there's some stuff I'll tell you offline, Stunty, because I'm sure you would
Oh, come on,
understand.
give
But
us some
yeah,
some nice anecdote. I'm sure you have like you
yeah.
must have a few good stories. Like, oh, my granddad just died, and I have this record collection.
Or them trying to sell us some sketch records to begin with, which I knew
Okay.
were like worth a lot of money. Like, I'll tell you offline, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of some of these very sketchy bands, especially in Baltimore, since it sounds like you've been to
Yeah.
Baltimore before.
No, but I have a friend in there, and I know about it, and I know
Yeah.
how dangerous it can be, and so I can only imagine that. And also with like everything we know from the Wire TV series and the drugs, and it's the US, so I can just imagine all the people coming into the store. Oh, I just got a record collection, and you're like, no, you just stole it.
I will say I did get people that I knew that they stole that they had stolen them from like the record store down the street or whatever, and they would come in with like 10 copies of what a Beyonce whatever, and it was like in shrink wrap, and I'm like, dude, you stole these. I'm not buying these from you. Like, you clearly stole these. You know what I mean? But it got to a point where it was like you couldn't really tell sometimes. But yeah, you mostly can tell when you're like, yeah, I'm not going to take anything from this collection because it's clearly stolen, or you've stolen other records. Like, I'm not. Yeah, but I've got some other stories I'll tell you offline.
Right.
But yeah.
Sorry, I'm right back because getting a little crazy right now with the UHQR.
All right, come on.
So why do you react that way?
Oh no, not two. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, because having this record in that condition.
Yeah.
In shrink.
Wow.
In shrink. Okay.
Wow.
Excuse me for a second. I have to take this call. No chance not to.
Yeah, I have that one, but not in that condition.
There's a number 1 and a number 2. They're both amazing.
Yeah, I have number 1 and 2. No, actually, no. Sorry, I have number 1. I don't have number 2.
Number 1 is gray.
Yeah,
black and white.
He doesn't have the yellow. Yeah, indeed.
And I have another version of it. I think it's Italian, but it's like a zoo with the animal voices on top.
Oh yeah. I never had that one. For those who don't know, this is music from Ethiopia, of course, but it's also a very specific genre that Mulatu Atsake pioneered, and it's funky, but not in a Western kind of way. It's funk and jazz, but it's definitely not jazz funk. And it's so good, and the artwork on that cover, of course, with the eye collage like there, and like it just takes it in a different level.
So that guy Joe, I used to run a record store north of Baltimore in Bel Air. If you're familiar with the area,
Joe, I think he had a record store as well in Florida, if I remember correctly. Yes, Josh D, that collection is not insane, but amazing. No, we're there's like it's insane. You're correct.
Thomas, off the top of your head, is there a record that you kind of gotten in where you're like, I can't believe I got it for this price? Like, off the top of your head, if you had to think of one.
I bought most of the records 15 years ago. So Mulatu, I paid €200 for.
But is there a record like in your collection that you can think of where it's like, I can't believe I got it for that cheap of a price, considering like what the record is?
I bought a collection from a guy who died. So it was his neighbors that say, we had this in the basement. It was like 5 boxes of records, and I brought them home, and it was like dirty, and because they've been in the basement too long, some mice had eaten a little bit of it. So I just put it aside. But then one day I saw a reissue of a record, like, oh, what is this? And people told me, this is really, really good. It was only made in 1,000 copies, original. And then I went back to the boxes there, and it was there. It still has the price, $1.99 on the label, and I sold it for €3,000.
Wow.
Whoa.
Space Invaders.
Wow. Joe, to answer your question, I do remember that story. Yeah. Yep.
And there was a lot of good records in those boxes. He never heard them. He was a fireman who traveled in America and bought records, but he never heard them. So they were all sealed, and
wow,
so there was an amazing collection of it.
So now someone is challenging you again, Thomas.
I need to look for the cover. I'm not really good at remembering names, but I'm good at artwork.
Come on, Dobbs. Now stop that. Like, chances, he goes at his own pace, and everyone does. So enough with that. Thank you. There's more challenge if this one doesn't work out.
I'm not sure I have it, because I can see they did like a lot of records, and it's they started in 2005, so it's not my period, but it's Danish. There is on Space Collective. I might have it. You want to see more rare stuff?
He wanted to see. Thomas wanted to see if you had Stern's Africa label.
African labels.
No, the Stern's. I'm not sure what he's talking about right now. I think I have some records on the label called Africa, but I don't know Stern. I don't know what that is.
But this is my favorite African record.
Back. Wake About Madman Jaga. Okay.
And that one was difficult to get, obviously. Otherwise, you'd have one in a better condition.
Thomas already said, Stunty, he wants the music. He's not so deep into condition.
Yeah, but come on.
I only seen it once in my life.
Okay.
So it's the best condition I ever seen.
Yeah. Wow.
And what kind of music is it?
It's funky, jazzy. It's crazy. It's good for playing out for DJing. It has really, really good energy.
What country?
It's from Kenya, as I remember it.
Okay.
It's me. You into a quiz? Can you recognize anybody here?
Okay, no, I cannot.
Oh, oh, okay.
Can you see who it is?
It's Björk, of course.
It is Björk.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's her punk band.
Yeah, from 82.
Yeah. She was probably like 13 or something like that.
It sounds like Bow Wow Wow.
And I think she was in another punk band after that. The name escapes me, but they were on Crass Records for like a while.
Absolutely. She was in all the bands that existed there, because it was territorial. Yeah.
It was just a question about Nirvana. I only have one copy original of the Nevermind.
Oh wow, that's cool to see an original of.
Oh no.
Wow.
Jason,
No, no, I can't see that record. No. So Thomas, I sold that record in Den Bosch. Like,
Yeah, I saw it on the video. That was why I just put it out here.
Yeah, and Jason is gonna go to hell because of that.
I think that's getting a reissue. I think like next month, and I think it's like a box set version, but that is getting a reissue next month.
Yeah.
Again, Tubulandia had a beautiful question. Thomas, do you have any original Fela Kutis from Nigeria?
You want to see?
We would love to, I can imagine.
I'll just show this one because it's that you don't see that often from
Wow,
the
yeah.
And I think that's also one of the labels, New Jazz, that's amazing.
Is it Plantasia?
I'm not sure what you mean with that question.
Oh, I was making a joke that was falling flat totally.
I'll be right back.
So you got rid of that record, Jason, in Den Bosch?
yes.
This one.
Oh, Metalhead.
Here we go.
Oh, we thought it was
Don't
it was not the Peel metal box. So if Barry is still here, this is like a massive jungle drum and bass collector. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Winston also got misled by this.
Yeah.
Was that a Metalheads box set, like the label?
Yeah, that was the Metalheads. Right. Wow. It's right when Goldie left Rainforest to start Metalheads. It's like 94, 95, something like that.
Have you ever seen Goldie? I'm sure you've seen Goldie live, Stunty.
My neighbor here is Seba, my best friend. You know Seba?
No,
he was on Good Looking, and he released a few records on Metalhead. So Goldie was here.
Kutis. Oh my God.
Oh.
And those are all Nigerians, Thomas?
They are.
Wow.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Wow. Thomas, is your whole collection there, or do you also have like a storage for your personal collection?
This is his storage.
Yeah. With the Fela Kuti, I have the rare one at home. There's like 5 or 6 really difficult to find. This is good.
Open and close.
Yeah, to see an original of that is pretty wild.
Yeah. Dylan from Noble Records, if you're watching us. Not that it's a competition, because it's not, but it's quite fun.
It's a compilation of the 7 inches. That's only, you can only get down to 7 inches on this one.
Yeah, that one's hard to get.
That's a good one, Chance.
That's not that expensive.
Jeez.
Ginger Baker, right?
Yeah, and that's where we should ask, where shall I start in Fela? Because I didn't know there was that many. Who knew, huh? My God.
Wow, oh my God. All African, right? All originals.
I think so. This one is not, but it has its own artwork. It's
okay.
That's like my favorite one, the Gentleman album.
Jason, why is your voice so shaky all of a sudden?
I don't know, I'm really sick right now.
Okay.
Or is it because he's seeing all these records? I think it's because he's seeing all these records, he just can't handle it.
If you want to get into Nigerian stuff, this label is one of the labels I collect as well. It has a lot of really good releases. So maybe 50 really good records on this label.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you're doing with Fela what I would do with Nurse with Wound, which
Yeah.
I don't know. It was possible that I have quite a few Fela records, but I was happy with what I had. Like now, I'm kind of curious with yeah.
So I've got a question for the group. So like it's rare that I actually collect a whole discography of somebody, and I can off the top of my head, I've done that with Black Flag, I did that with Sonic Youth, I've done that with Albert Eiler, and that's about it. I mean, it's when you guys buy records, do you, once you're in the mode of like trying to collect an artist, do you just go after all of those records? Because it's really tough for me to like be like, oh well, I really want like this Marion Brown record, but I also want, you know, this White House record or something. And then I it's hard for me to like just concentrate on one artist.
You can get them all, but
And for you also
without concentrating. You mean, it's just a question of time, over time, in a way, you know.
Yeah.
If you're into what you just mentioned, White House, which are also desperately trying to get more and more, but this will take time. But I still will get into Kraftwerk or the Prestige series to make them complete. Of course, I think you can do both until you reach your goal. Maybe sometimes, in some cases, you will never ever reach your goal.
But you have to acknowledge also that Sean here, he had a lot to overcome, because when he started out with Sonic Youth, it was when Washing Machine was out. So
I like a Washing Machine is still my favorite Sonic Youth record. It's like,
because that's the one you discovered them with.
That's the one I started off with, yeah. And then it's to me it's
worst
like
Sonic
Sister.
Youth album, by the way, if you don't know.
What's that? I'm sorry.
It's the worst Sonic Youth album, by the way.
No,
It's
the Diamond Sea is the Diamond Sea is the best. That's their best song. The Diamond.
Which means that that Pavement is your favorite band.
No, I hate Pavement. I freaking hate Pavement. Matter of fact, the only Pavement I like is the record nobody else likes, which is their last record, because it doesn't sound like. I hate slacker rock. I think that whole era of like 93 to like 90.
Washing Machine is. It's Sonic Youth trying to do a slacker rock record.
No, it's their psychedelic record. It's their psychedelic record. It sounds like the 13th Floor Elevators to me, like just totally washed out. Actually, I just got this in the mail. Speaking of Washing Machine, a stress ball, Sonic Youth stress ball.
They never make you big for this one. That's a beauty.
Yeah. So yeah, whenever I'm stressed at work, I just put on
Washing Machine is the new Washing Machine is the new Yellow Brick Road.
No, that's now you're just nope. Look, I enjoy most all of Sonic Youth's catalog, even New York City Ghosts and Flowers. I think New York City Ghosts and Flowers is a really good record.
Excuse me for a minute, I have to take this call. Cannot not take it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I get it. Everybody's favorite Sonic Youth records are different. Like, I have a buddy of mine who really loves 1,000 Leaves, thinks that that's their best. And I get it. I get it. Like, I like that record too, but I don't think that's their best record. I think Made in the USA is their worst record.
For me, I quit Sonic Youth after... I mean, I discovered them obviously because I assumed Washing Machine for you because of your age, obviously, and for me, obviously, it was Dirty, even though it could have been Sister, but or Goo. No, which one came? Goo came after Sister.
Goo was the first DGC record. Yeah, so that was 90.
So Goo was around when I started to buy records, but I bought almost everything, and for me, I like everything from the second album up and including up until and including Evil. And I like Jet Set Trash and No Star. Experimental Jet Set
Trash. I'm not being funny. That I think may be my least favorite Sonic Youth record.
That's the last one that I tolerate after Evil.
Really? That's weird. I get it. That's weird, but I get it. I mean, I didn't really like their the last, they put out an album called Rather Ripped that I thought was pretty good, but the tail end of their career was not horrible. It was just not super interesting. I think the SYR stuff they did was actually super interesting, and what was helpful was Jim O'Rourke joining the band.
Well, it kind of destroyed the band at the same time also.
Right. Well, yeah, especially because he introduced the person that would essentially break up Kim and Thurston.
Yeah.
So that's why he moved to Japan. The rumor is in Kim's book.
No. He moved to Japan because he was his wife, his girlfriend is.
Well, no. So what ended up happening was he had left Sonic Youth because of this woman that is now with Thurston, and he was like, "I need to get the F out of here." And so he already had like connections in Japan, clearly, just because of anybody who knows Jim knows like how deep his connections to Japan are. And he just set up shop there, and that's when he met his now wife.
Hot take from Loyola: Jim O'Rourke is toxic.
As in, like, how though? Like, toxic as in a person, or just like musically is not?
I believe, knowing him, that he's talking about the person, because there's a lot to like with his music, of course.
Yeah. I mean, did you get the soundtrack that he just did that was on Drag City?
No, but I don't like it. It's fine, but I got the one he just released with his wife with the
It's like the yellow cover.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fantastic.
I mean, she's great on her own. Yeah. Like, her solo records are pretty unbelievable too.
Yeah, it's Michael, were you like the whole like Nirvana, Sonic Youth, and all this kind of stuff? When did that enter your world?
Oh, that's an amazing question, because that was at a time where I was clubbing, but in a way totally out of music. That was, my son was born, he was 2 years old, I think, 2-3 years old. I was very heavily involved and invested in the university. I was studying. I was then a couple of months later getting into divorce while studying, while having a young son. So music, consuming music, wasn't just my thing at that time. I was totally out of it and just consuming music when I went out to clubs or dancing and stuff like that, but not into it at all at that period of time.
So when did it enter?
It enters with getting back into music in the, let's say, 2008, 2009, 2010, so quite late, when I got back into music, when I start the streaming experience, when I start to upgrade my hi-fi, or maybe no earlier, 2005, around that period of time. That's when it entered.
It's always interesting, like how, of course, our age dictates so much, and for me, Nirvana was the beginning of everything. And a few years later, when I start to go clubbing, Laurent Garnier is playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on the
that's
dance floor in the Rex Club.
That's why I remember that so well, because that's why I said clubbing, because same here. It was in techno IDM, no, not IDM, but techno as the club. And all of a sudden he plays "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and everybody loved it, which was so different than the rest of the music. It was amazing.
Yeah, different, like it has nothing to do apart from the fact that it's underground in a way, even if by then they were signed to DGC. But it's funny to see that what kind of song has the potential to work suddenly in the like almost complete opposite culture. There can't be that many in the whole history of the of music in the Western world, at least.
I will say, for me, like Nirvana, like with you, Stunty, Nirvana, and so again, I'm not a big OG press collector guy, but In Utero is like my top 5 albums of all time, and I have every single pressing of that record, every single pressing.
I
It's
bought
an
the one. I
unbelievable-
bought it on the release date, the clear vinyl.
Yep,
And
yeah.
that's what I still
That was
have.
the first cassette I bought
Yeah.
with my allowance money. I went to Walmart, and it was 90, right before Kurt died. So, you know, it had at Walmart, they couldn't sell the, you know, it didn't say Rape Me on it. It actually said Waifed Me in the title track. But what I was really going to quickly get at, what's interesting about Nirvana, and this isn't a diss on people that talk about the Beatles a lot or whatever, but almost everybody that I kind of run into that like talks about Nirvana, it's not about like the music so much, it's about what doors they opened up. Like that was their gateway into, you know what I mean? Whereas when people talk about the Beatles or the Stones, it's like they're just deep in that world. But Nirvana, like I was only in Nirvana world for a couple of years, and then I got right into like punk and hardcore, you know, and then through that got into experimental music. So it's just really interesting to hear people's take on Nirvana, and it kind of sounds like Stunty, you and I both kind of, that was our jumping off point when it comes to music. You know what I mean? Like that was the big bang for me, you know, it opened up everything for me. And it, because of them, I am a record collector, you know, it just happened to work out that way. So
I believe Richard, I believe someone is showing a turntable, but
Dante, come on.
Are we gonna get plagued by that?
No, but hey.
No, I'm joking, of course. It's funny. I don't know. Was it with you? I don't know who I was discussing this with recently. How?
This one, yeah. This is the rare one, right? Without the.
That was. I saw one has a question if I had the Butcher cover.
Yeah, but explain that, please, because I'm not that familiar with the Butcher cover. I know the Butcher cover with the silly puppets on their shoulders and around them. So I don't see them here. Explain the connection, please.
They took the record back. They were not. They was too tough, that cover, and they released it with this cover instead.
Okay.
But the first one they took it back, and they just put it up another front cover. So behind this you have the Butcher cover.
Okay.
And the way you can see it is you can see it sometimes on the edge, but the way to look for it is this shadow here. It's difficult to see.
Yeah, on video sometimes. Yeah.
But there's a shadow here that goes here.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't see the shadow on the video, but we trust, we believe, of course, when you say that. So that makes it even more rare, or when you have it with this cover over the Butcher cover, or what's?
There's 3 stages. The most rare one is without this one on top.
Okay.
Call that stage 1, and then you have stage 2 where you have taken this off. So you have the one behind, and this is stage 3 where you have the new cover on.
Okay.
And the first one is the most expensive and rare one.
So have you ever thought of peeling it?
No.
No.
I will destroy it. I don't have the patience to do it.
But don't you think, Thomas, that the whole obsession with the Butcher cover, it's an American thing? Because here in Europe, for us, it's just a compilation. Like, it's kind of silly in a way. It's just a collectible because all the tracks, you have them on the albums.
Yeah. I actually don't collect this one, but I sold it a few times and people didn't want to pay it. I did bring it to Holland to the record fair in Utrecht, but it's expensive, and you need, and somebody want to buy it for his friend on the phone, and you need to see it at the same time. But it's a really good condition, this one.
Okay, when you say expensive, give me a number if you want to.
Yeah, I think I'll get between 1,000 and 3,000 euro.
But John, this is, again, it's because for us Europeans, the butcher cover, unless you're a die-hard Beatles collector, not just fan, it means nothing for us. The butcher cover, like
No,
It's
like
let's music talk, because I'm totally not interested in this in a way.
no,
you
it's
like the Beatles for the music, but
Yeah.
you don't need like. I really like also the Beatles, but like collecting something of the Beatles just because it's rare. If I have
Stunty must have froze up or something.
Something happened over at Sweden.
Right, the ghost of John Lennon has stopped Stunty.
Exactly. The ghost of John Lennon. Yeah.
I appreciate that Beatles have like the, you know, for record collectors, there's the fandom is, and I get it. It's not me crapping on it. I totally get it. But like, it's just not super interesting to me. Like the Beatles are just, they're like, it's like cultural music that's just ingrained in you. For me personally, I'm much more interested in stuff that just isn't talked about like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, but I love the Beatles like everybody else does, you know?
What are we seeing here now, Thomas?
I'm playing to one of my friends' girlfriend's 40 years birthday next weekend. She's from Mexico.
Ah, okay.
So I collected some of the stuff I have from Mexico. And
I hope Jose Moreno Ran is here, because he's from Mexico too. He would probably love to see those. Yeah.
Yeah, this one I've been told it might be sold one time ever on the internet.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's amazing. It's a rock psych, and it's really, really good.
Wow.
I don't think you'll see that one again.
No, it's pretty interesting, the whole like the design of the cover. Like it's
Yes.
Yeah,
it's quite modern. It looks like a 90s record.
and
Yes.
it's 72.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you think, Jason? It looks exactly like an alternative rock record from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just showing a few of the records I'm playing. It's all from Mexico. So this is just
So nowhere into Mexico. Okay, cool.
This is just for inspiration.
Nice.
Most rare one. One of my favorite.
Okay. This looks like a movie. Superman.
It's also really, really, really rare. I never seen it for sale. At the same time, I'm playing some Colombian stuff.
Because why not?
Especially with this jacket. But Thomas, how do you get aware of those records? I mean, for example, The Young Girl and the Plants, or this one. It is an amazing jacket, of course, beautiful. But how do you decide, oh, this might be interesting, or is this recommended to you? How do you get aware of those?
You learn some of the names, and often you listen to a lot of compilations from that area to find out what is interesting.
Okay.
That record you just showed, though, like when you see that cover, can you show it, the cover on the other side of the cover, or is the record in the way? Because I know that if I see that cover, I think, okay, this looks like a private press. Okay, now this looks like a library record.
Exactly. I agree.
So I would listen to it if I could.
Yeah, I agree. With this jacket, of course, Stunty, but with the other one, the naked girl in the plants, I'm not so sure, right?
Yeah.
I'll show you my favorite cover from Colombia, because that's a little bit crazy.
Oh my God. Small cigar. That's amazing.
Looks like an OBC gathering.
Yeah. Those two, when they're together, all the covers were like this, always tough with. I'll show you one more so you can see. There's a connection. If I have one more here. Yeah, there's one more here.
El Violento.
Yeah. But he also made other records with under another name, and the records there was always with the naked women.
Yeah, somehow naked women's on record covers at one point was a thing for some reason. No? Like all these Japanese pop singers from the 70s also that all constantly had no problem being naked on the covers.
That's true. And remember, I mentioned Bow Wow Wow today.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Grease, okay.
The Mongolian
version of Grease, but he looks like John Travolta. I have to give you that.
Yeah.
Does he, Michael?
But Stunty, you never told me that you are on a Colombian record.
Yeah.
Okay. But musically, you enjoy them, and you say this is stuff worth getting into.
It's amazing. It's for me, it's the same level as Fela Kuti nearly.
Okay, cool.
It's just as much fun and just as nice journey to get into those Mexican.
But they are easier to get or as hard to get as the Fela Kutis and the other stuff, or is it a little easier if you want to get them?
No, it's not easier.
Okay.
Because you only
I was
find.
afraid you say that.
You only find them in. This is a Brazilian, but look at the hair.
This is cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really nice. It's too bad there's the fucking like title over it like that.
Yeah. But it's also a really, really good record.
You know, the problem in a way is you show records and we cannot talk about it in a way because we don't know it. We've never heard it. I have no idea what's on this record.
Yeah, and I think you need to go back and then take maybe a listen at this one because really, it's one of my favorite. It's cumbia, a special style. I bought this one, mint. From Colombia. That's one of the problems getting those records.
Yeah.
It's not mint.
It
was sealed. It was sealed when I got it, but I never seen as sturdy a record as this one.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I bought it 10 years ago for €100. Now it's 2,000-3,000.
Thomas, we should start a channel and play those for the people.
Yeah. You will love to hear this.
I can. I'm for sure.
But you know, it's funny, like what you said, Michael, when you asked Thomas if he is actually into the music on all these records. I guess that when you accept, like when you reach a point where
maybe I'm mistaken, but I know this cover, but I might be mixing it up. But this looks familiar.
It's an ESP. It's American release.
Okay.
When you reach a point where when you listen to all these kinds of music from all over the world, then it becomes difficult, if not pointless, to make like, you know, scales. Like this music is better. What is my favorite music? Because at this point, when you're exposed to so much different music from all over the world, all over time, that is one of my biggest ones, Thomas. So if you have several copies, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this really helps you study that he has two. Sorry for saying this.
Yeah, well.
Wow. I have that.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, I have this too. Is it the Danish pressing?
No, there's no Danish pressing. It's a Swedish.
Oh, Swedish.
Oh,
okay, so I mixed that up. Then I have that too.
I'm putting a curse right now. It's on Caprice, one of the best labels ever. The Swedish folk ways.
It's a beautiful record.
Now I'll show you something that one of the records I listen most to, and it's €20 record. It's from Colombia, but it's a French DJ who put it out.
Which one? Who?
I can't remember, but it's people who live in the mountains called Cabras.
Okay.
And he recorded them up there, electronic music on it.
It's actually not. It's not a French DJ. I think it's a Russian one who lives in Europe. He does the Lions drums edits, right?
Yeah, you might be right. It's just like it's a French release, I think. Oh, I don't know why I got it into the French thing. But this one, amazing and cheap.
It's fairly. When is this from?
22, I think, last year.
Yeah. Lions drum, like he does all the stuff he does is interesting. He goes between techno, world music, field recordings, and mixing things. I'm not a fan of everything, but it's always interesting. Always.
Yeah, I bought some of the other stuff after this one.
Stanti, why do you always put my comments when I put them on? You put them away. What is it?
No. It was a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Italian.
You know, I have the strong urge to stop now, Justin, because I have to save money to get them.
Thomas, just go back to the Ennio Morricone now.
Oh, show the Wailing Wailers again. This looks different.
It's the earlier version.
Okay. The earlier version.
But
okay.
Amazing, beautiful one, I think, is this one.
Wow, yes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's one of my favorite covers as well.
This
is it a silk screen, Thomas?
It's a silk screen, yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
So this one was recently reissued officially, and me and Michael, we talked about that on our upcoming.
Yeah.
I had the original of that. I've had several copies of it. For me, this is one of my favorite records of all time, all genre. The B-sides especially, and it's how did you get in contact with that record?
I can't remember, but it's for me, it's also one of the best Morricone records I have.
Yeah, because it's a library soundtrack. The cover is amazing. It's on Gemini, which also makes it super cool because it's a super cool label to collect as well. And I love it seeing someone else showing this casually like that. Sorry, Michael. I have to sometimes. I'm. Yeah.
Okay, I have to say now we are here since 3 hours 15 minutes. I have another 15 minutes. Then we need to.
Oh wow! Can you show that again, Thomas? I just bought a reissue. The record you just were just showing right before. I just bought a reissue of that a couple of weeks ago.
There's a Brazilian and Italian one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But okay, this one. Original. Can you make Thomas bigger for this one, Michael?
No, I can't.
No, but I know, I know. But I wanted to see the Pepe Satan cover again. Can you show that cover again? Oh yeah.
Wow, that's cool to see an original of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, mine also Nino Nardini. This one has 3 tracks that are outtakes from the one from before, which is why it's interesting. But the Jungle Obsession one is I played so many of these tracks on the stream.
I'm looking for this one. This is a reissue.
Okay. You're looking for the original right now.
And I'm looking for the original of this one as well.
Oh.
Wow. Good luck with that.
But can you show again that cover? What is the name of that band or that record? Pepe Satan, with the red and black cover.
This one.
Yeah, Pape Satan. What is this? Is it a library?
It's abstract, minimal, experimental, and dark ambient. It's just a record for you.
Yeah, I want it. I want it. And I love the cover.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love this cover, Stunty?
You said nothing, so I have first dibs.
It's Italian library.
Yeah. Yeah, hard. I have no record on that label. Who's the composer? Oh yeah, that one. But that one I have the one on the version on the Folkways. That one is amazing. It's kind of cosmic disco as well.
Yeah.
I feel like collecting library music records would be really dangerous. Like, yeah, like I've never seen an original of that. Like that is wow.
See the tracks.
Well,
I think it was Madlib did a few samples from this one.
Madlib, okay.
Yeah. This one is from Cuba, but it's also amazing.
Wow.
So it's on Egrem? Yeah. Have you ever gotten these ones, Thomas?
I can't see your.
Michael?
Wait, yeah. I make.
I've seen them. I don't have them.
Yes, makes Stunty upset.
I don't have them.
Pietro Grossi. This sounds like Ottaker in Italy in the late 60s.
Tullio d'Episcopo.
And Jason, I saw you show the reggae record a little bit earlier. That's one of my favorite reggae records as well.
So Thomas, I have a dozen copies of these, and I've sold them because I try to find the most perfect version of Heart of the Congos. It doesn't exist. I give up.
I have it, and you need the first issue comes with it's blue lines on the sides, and it's he hand painted himself with yellow on top, so they look green.
No way.
This is already, John Moreno, this is already in a way a part 2 on the open channel with Thomas. And I can imagine and I hope that he will join us.
Whoa, Thomas, that is
regularly.
Wow. I mean, all of these I've never seen originals of, but that is wow.
By the way, I have to state something. I've seen, I haven't seen most of these records, but what I haven't seen is that Cole is just so silent and in an awe.
Yeah, I'm just.
No wow. Pun intended, no. Cole. No pun intended.
This is all reggae record that you need to have.
Now, Thomas, were you buying like collections that were specific genre collections to get some of these, or were they just out in the wild? Like, how did you, for some of these, were you just buying collections?
The reggae stuff here. I lived in London for 10 years, so every night I went out to find a shop that was open, and it was only the reggae shop that has opened like 10 o'clock in the night.
Mm.
So I ended up having a lot of friends from Jamaica, and then got into the community in London with the reggae stuff. That's where I bought most of my reggae.
I have friends that go to Japan just to buy reggae records because that's where like most of them are nowadays. And like some of the finds that they get, and I'm not super into reggae. I'm more of a dub guy, but like some of the stuff they find in Japan is just unbelievable. And I've heard that's where most of the reggae records now exist, like original pressings are in Japan now for most of the reggae records.
When did they buy them? In
They-
the early 2000s?
Yeah, it was like 2004, 2005. You know what I mean? Right before that bubble like really got big. You know, and I mean, I bought original pressings of City Pop records when I was in Japan, like 2007, and they were like dollar bin records that you couldn't even give them away. And now those records are worth $150, $200, sometimes $500, and it's like just 15 years ago, those were dollar bin records. It's interesting to see how the internet can really like up a genre of music that nobody cares about, you know?
Yeah. I'll show one of my favorite records as well.
Wait a second.
Oh,
If it's signed, get out of here.
no
Wow.
fucking way.
Where's Nadine? She'll cry.
Wow. 1989, or what is the date? Wow. Cool.
But was it signed to you personally?
No, I bought it like this.
Stunty
Okay.
is always sometimes a little bit picky. Show us your signed copy, Stunty.
And
Oh,
this
I
is more for you.
But just to reassure people here who are watching all this and getting like, what the fuck? We still showed a few records that Thomas personally don't own. He doesn't have everything, so he's human after all.
He is human after all. That's a nice take.
I have 6,000 records in my want list.
6,000, okay.
But it's also records that I want to learn about. It's not maybe not buying.
I was so surprised when I showed the Durruti Commons sandpaper jacket that you said, "Oh, I don't have it." Is it on your want list, or aren't you interested in this one?
To be honest, I don't know it.
Okay, cool. So then we even could show something new today on the last stream.
Yeah, the träd, gräs och stenar that Thomas just showed is like the biggest Swedish psych record, which is almost a jazz record in a way, but this is a very, very important record that has become more important of recent thanks to the Person Sound box set. Yeah, I had it. It's a little bit. It's great. I didn't feel I needed to keep it, but it's there's two pressings of that though. But do you have the orange labels on this one? Okay, the green ones. Well, no, actually, I think orange is on the other side. But
yeah, it is.
I
have another copy somewhere. But I can show you a record nobody of you have ever seen.
Okay. Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
At least for me. Wait. Jean Brooks. No, I haven't seen that one. Stunty, have you? Cole, have you? Jason?
Nope.
No.
Is it like a porn movie or something?
It could be.
Where does it come from? What
is
genre?
it like a student, a children record, a student record or something?
I think it has. I'm not totally sure about the story, but it's a little bit about the story about somebody forced somebody to do a record, and I think you talked about it in one of your shows.
Oh, yeah.
She was blind and made this record.
Okay.
And but she did some. You see, it's Simon and Garfunkel. It's the Beatles, and it's weird. It's bad. It's weird. It's really, really expensive. It's really, really rare.
Okay.
That record sells.
Has a cult status like the Shacks.
Yeah, it's a crazy record, but it's worth listening to because you can't figure it out, even though it's the Beatles.
That's a great comment, Jason, because it's true. If we were kids, we will hate Thomas so much, but we're adults, so we love him now. But if we were kids, we would like kick your ass.
No, we wouldn't kick. We would say,
Oh
okay, Santi,
no!
you distract him, and I go to the records.
Oh yeah,
No, Adele Sebastian.
Yeah. That's true. That's
It's
a good one.
It's also one of those label Nimbus. This is a side label, but Nimbus is one of my favorite labels as well.
So Thomas, my friend, owns and manages Nimbus now. So I made him play me that Adele Sebastian record. He didn't want to play it to me because it's worth a lot of money, you know.
Yeah, and it's really, really good.
It's a unique record. There's nothing that sounds like that.
I think we talked about this band. You talked about it.
Ezra.
I love Coltrane's soundtrack background.
Who has the police next to him, Cole or Jason?
No, that's me. I keep muting I think there's a fire somewhere down there.
Sounds American. Oh, Homer. Here we go.
With a crack pipe. And it's a lenticular cover or something?
Yeah. It's like the...
Cool.
Yeah. Who is it?
It's a UK label called Dope Records. It's for the young people into hip hop.
Ah, okay.
This is the label they go for. It's the most famous one is West Side Gun, and he always promote with the covers. I think when the first. It's always like an artwork. Like he has a famous artist doing the artwork for him, and this one came 2022. It just came out, and it's.
Jose Moreno Ran asks if you have something by the band called Los Vikings, and Jose is I hope Jose you have seen the Mexican records. Thomas Schmidt.
No, enough with the fucking 70s rock, Jose. Like we were finally into hip hop now, like for kids, music for kids. Let's focus on that.
Yes.
I'm joking. Jose.
But again, although you ignored me completely, I have to go in a short period of time. We will go on Mondays and Fridays, so it's not over when we close down this stream. Wow.
What is this?
The last two things I showed you here is, for me, some of the new stuff that is into art pieces that not only is music.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think some will know it, but it's.
Beautiful.
The cover of when he first released the cover looks like this with the real gold in the back.
What is this record? I don't know it.
This one is the book that comes with the. This is the vinyl. It's steel. But it's,
okay.
It's in it's 9 7-inches that together will make the same pictures you saw before with the gold thing on.
Ah, beautiful! Wow.
And he don't write his name anywhere, so it's about. I can't remember his name, but I'm figured.
Okay, guys, 3.5 hours. No more.
Santi, real quick before we go, did you pre-order the Sandwell District box set yet? Are you going to get that?
Nope.
Mine is supposedly shipping soon. I'll let you know like what it's like, but having that repressed is pretty wild.
Yeah, I think that music it was exciting when it came out, but that was 10 years ago, right? Now I think
it's like the 10th anniversary of that record or something like that. But I just never got an original pressing of that, and that thing is crazy to find.
It's music of the time, and there's a lot of music that is very similar and even better in my opinion. Back then it was it was it was forward thinking techno, but now
See, I knew you would say that about that. I had a sneaking suspicion that you would say that about that scene. I always liked that scene. I thought that scene was what they were doing then, and yeah, I guess you could make that argument. But then it was like there wasn't that. Not that there wasn't people doing that, but it was super interesting what they were doing.
the best Soundwall District is, I think, it's on 12 inches, like the extended versions that are more dubby. These have aged well, but yeah. And I had to go too because I have to prepare my own stream.
I just wanted to ask you, do we have Stunty tonight? Stunty.
Yes.
Cool. So it's only 3.5 hours. No, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You really have to prepare.
Yeah, I have to try it because like my shelf that collapsed. So I mean,
maybe we are in for some other collapsing during the live stream.
Oh no! Oh man, that's like my nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It is.
When did that happen, Stunty?
Like right right when Michael started his stream, so I couldn't come on directly because I had to. And it fell on me also, Cole. It literally fell on me. I have pain here. I just managed to get off my
How many records did that shelf hold?
Not that many, maybe maybe 3,000, 4,000.
Not that many.
Not that many. That's a lot. That's a lot of records.
Oh yeah, 3,000 I would say. Yeah.
Thomas, will you join us on Monday again for another round? People seems to really love it. Do you have time upcoming Monday for us?
If it's not too much.
No, it's not too much. We love that stuff, but for now, I'm sorry I have to go and prepare.
I can say next time we take a journey to Turkey.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
let's do a journey to Turkey.
Oh God.
Michael, you said
that was a great cliffhanger, Thomas. Thank you very much. See, you're out of the movie business, the film industry. You know how to create the perfect cliffhanger.
Michael, you said you're doing this stream every Monday and Friday. Is that the?
I'm doing those streams on Mondays and Fridays. Yes. Yep. For now, let's see how this works out. If we can go on with it, and yeah. So. Thank you all very, very much for all your beautiful contributions. Cole, pleasure to see you on my channel for the first time. Jason, Stunty, Thomas. You're welcome anytime back on Monday, Friday, whatever suits you the best.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Be safe. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care.